Chapter 773. Before starting the dream cultivation, Donghua Shui Ying had already reached a bottleneck in 3 Daos, including the Tao of Mirage. Even though the direction of the dream cultivation was slightly different and the comprehension he gained was slightly different, he still reached a bottleneck. He even gained some understanding of the ruler realm during the dream cultivation. When these two comprehensions clashed, it was an extremely mystical feeling. Time passed. A total of 160 years had passed in the grass house before Donghua Shui Ying ended his cultivation. Close to 6 days had passed in the outside world. This was much longer than the 1 or 2 days that Donghua Shui Ying and his teacher Bloodblade mentioned. But since the war had already begun, a few more days did not make a difference. Donghua Shui Ying was not willing to stop at the crucial moment of creating the 4th volume of the Wind Ripple Path. Large amounts of comprehension were fused in, allowing him to completely immerse himself in it. Crimson Rock Mountain World on Crimson Dust Island. Jia, a white-robed Donghua Shui Ying pushed open the courtyard door and walked out. The surrounding trees had turned red, and their leaves were scattered on the ground. Rulers are indeed different. Donghua Shui Ying revealed a grin. He looked into the distance. His vision pierced through the entire material realm, allowing him to see the distant lake Heart Island historical remains. He even saw the black-robed bloodshed god emperor Peng Yi, Monarch Green, Abyss Promger, Purgatory Ruler, Empress Qian He, Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Head, and Primal Master seated cross-legged deep within the Lake Heart Island. Many experts from the Cultivator Cosmos had temporarily relocated to the Lake Heart Island, and these ruler avatars of theirs had also been left behind. When Donghua Shui Ying saw these 9 rulers, the 9 of them also sensed something. They looked over with shock. Ooh, those fools from the ancestor mother religion can't possibly discover where we are hiding. Bloodblade, Temporal Island Lord, Monarch Green, Peng Yi, and the others followed their senses and looked over. Very soon, they exchanged glances with Donghua Shui Ying in the material realm. Junior disciple Brother Donghua? Monarch Green was startled. Donghua Shui Ying? The Temporal Island Lord didn't dare to believe it. He became a ruler. Bloodblade also revealed a look of surprise and joy. He then laughed and said, "Everyone, Snow Eagle entered the Demon Mountain cosmos. The flow of time, there's more than 3,000 times faster than here. So Snow Eagle has been cultivating there for hundreds of millions of years. His original strength was already at the bottleneck, so it's not surprising that he's taken that final step and become a ruler." Normal. Qing Jun sighed. How long have I been trapped in the Venerable Realm? I had to open up another path and create my own cultivation art. Only then did I break through. Pang Yi sighed. Donghua Shui Ying's talent is truly incredible. He actually became a sovereign directly. Going from the peak of the Venerable Realm to the Sovereign Realm might seem like a single step, but it was extremely difficult. For example, the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction was still stuck there. Ha ha ha, if Snow Eagle can become a sovereign, he'll be even more helpful, Bloodblade said. Snow Eagle, hurry over. Yes, Master. Donghua Shui Ying replied. Donghua Shui Ying, I don't find it strange that you have reached the peak of the opening realm. But for you to become a sovereign so quickly, I really admire you. This is truly too fast. Primal Master transmitted a sigh. Temporal Island Lord had a strange expression on his face. He had always disliked Donghua Shui Ying. But now, this brat was actually sitting on the same level as him? What kind of joke was this? Humph, a newly advanced sovereign. He's probably still very tender. Temporal Island Lord consoled himself. Donghua Shui Ying could feel the shock from him becoming sovereign. However, becoming a sovereign was indeed very difficult. At the very least, breaking through in the laws and profound mystery system was even more difficult. Even after fusing my comprehensions, I've only broken through in the Tao of Mirage and stepped into the Sovereign Realm. Donghua Shui Ying sighed inwardly. I've already created the 4th volume of the Wind Ripple Path. My understanding of the Tao of Slaughter and Tao of Ripple has deepened, but I'll still need some time to accumulate and accumulate. If I didn't cultivate in my dreams, I might be stuck at the bottleneck for even longer. Dongbo Shui Ying understood this point as well. Snow Eagle. A voice rang out from afar. Dongbo Shui Ying raised his head. Jing Qiu's figure flashed and appeared in front of him. Father, father. Two figures also appeared with a so-so sound. They were none other than Dongbo Yu and Dongbo Qingyao. Snow Eagle, why do I feel your aura? Jing Qiu couldn't help but ask. In her perception, Dongbo Shui Ying's aura was even more unfathomable. I had some fortuitous encounters after entering the Devil Mountain cosmos. That's why I broke through and became a sovereign. Dongbo Shuang said. Jing Qiu, Dongbo Yu, and Dongbo Qingyao were all stunned. Become a sovereign? They were all proud of Dongbo Shui Ying and admitted that he was extremely talented. But to become a sovereign, to stand at the peak of the entire cosmos, to stand at the same height as Bloodblade, Temporal Island Lord, Abyss Primogenitor, and Myriad God Palace Head, this caused Jing Qiu and the others to find it hard to believe. The time flow in the Devil Mountain cosmos is much faster than here. I didn't cultivate for 10 million years, but 600 million years. Dongbo Shuang laughed. When the war ends, I will send you all to the Devil Mountain cosmos. Their cultivation system and resources are much better than ours. Third Prince Jiao Yunlu is also a good friend of mine. I have already spoken to him about this matter. A sovereign. Dongbo Yu looked at Dongbo Qingyao. Did you hear that? My father is a sovereign. My father is a sovereign as well. Dongbo Qingyao pursed her lips. The siblings could hardly conceal their excitement. Dongbo Shui Ying laughed when he saw this. I will transcend first. Transcend. Jing Qiu and the others were startled. Dongbo Shui Ying looked at the space beside him. He directly controlled the void through space-time. It was as though the skin of an orange had been peeled off, revealing the flesh within. The void in front of them was peeled off, revealing a deeper space. There was an incomparably vast river surging forward. This river surged forward without any source or end. It surged through the entire cosmos. Countless life forms could be seen within this river. From the lowest level ants to the highest level stage 4 world deities, all of them were sinking within it. River of Time? Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao, and Jing Qiu were all watching. They felt complicated emotions when they saw this river. After all, they had been cultivating in hopes of one day transcending this river. That is, Dongbo Yu and the others stared into the distance in shock. Far away from the River of Time, there was an incomparably towering giant. The giant's height was unfathomable, and it could not be seen with the naked eye. He was simply too tall and huge. His 2 legs were still standing within the River of Time. However, the water of the River of Time only reached his knees. The thickness of his 2 legs was enough to fill up the entire width of the River of Time. With a single step, this giant arrived at the shore of the River of Time. Out of the river, onto the shore. This was no ordinary river. It was the River of Time. By walking out of it, one would be a nirvana expert, a transcendent expert. White-robed Dongbo Shui Ying also arrived at the shore of the void. The incomparably towering giant was rapidly shrinking. At this moment, Dongbo Yu, Jing Qiu, and the others could clearly see that the giant whose 2 legs almost burst the River of Time was actually Dongbo Shuang. After all, the current Dongbo Shui Ying had not only become a ruler in the Tao of Mirage, he was also a void walker. His true deity heart was extremely powerful, much stronger than ordinary rulers. That was why his body size was so exaggerated in the River of Time. After the towering giant shrunk, he directly fused with the white-robed Dongbo Shuang. Transcendence, grand perfection. Dongbo Shuang felt that his soul had become much more complete, but fusing my true body and avatar as one is the final grand perfection. To become a void god, he had to fuse his true body and avatar as one. Only when his life reached grand perfection could he take that step, stepping into the void god realm from the true god realm. Currently, Dongbo Shui Ying was still a ruler. Furthermore, he did not have to enter the primal chaos void temporarily. Naturally, There was no need for him to fuse his true body and avatar as one. Father, I've heard that transcendence is borrowing the energy from the law of the world to allow one to leave the river of time. Did you just take a step up to the shore? Furthermore, your body size is too huge. Dongwu was speechless by the side. I won't speak any further with you. I'll be leaving first. Dongwu Shueing nodded to his wife. Be careful, Jing Qiu reminded him. Dongwu Shueing chuckled before disappearing. He had already left the material realm to meet up with Bloodblade and the others. Chapter 774. A gigantic black stone pillar was rooted in the dark, starry sky. Numerous chains were wrapped around the black pillar, extending into the surrounding void. Countless runes were flowing along the chains, and there were also countless runes flowing along the surface of the stone pillar. A majestic aura emanated from the pillar, covering an area of 1 trillion kilometers. This aura was enough to cause even rulers to tremble. At the top of the black stone pillar, there were 2 figures seated cross-legged there. One was the crimson-robed Bloodblade, while the other was the regal-looking Empress Qianhe. South, a figure appeared out of thin air. It was the white-robed Dongwu Shueing. This stone pillar array. Dongwu Shueing felt countless layers of energy obstructing his path. Originally, he had intended to directly descend to the top of the stone pillar to meet his master. Who would have thought that he would be obstructed from so far away? Even I, your master, cannot barge in. You want to do so? Bloodblade stood up from the top of the black stone pillar. He looked at his disciple, who had suffered a setback, and laughed. Come in. Don't resist. As he spoke, he began to control the array. A surge of energy wrapped around Dongwu Shueing, directly teleporting him over. Dongwu Shueing appeared at the top of the black stone pillar. He immediately smiled and bowed. Greetings, master. There's no need to be so courteous between us. Bloodblade smiled as he watched. The path of cultivation was a lonely one. On this lonely path, both of his disciples were able to follow his footsteps. Bloodblade felt quite satisfied. Dongwu Shueing. Empress Qianhe walked over. Her voice was somewhat cold. When I first met you, you were still a little fellow participating in the myriad flower feast. In the blink of an eye, you've already become a ruler. I was lucky, Dongwu Shueing said humbly. There's no such thing as luck in cultivation. Bloodblade said, Right, which Tao did you break through to become a ruler? The Tao of Mirage? The Tao of Slaughter? Empress Qianhe was listening attentively as well. Tao of Mirage, Dongwu Shueing said. Strictly speaking, he had broken through to the ruler realm in 2 systems. One was the Tao of Mirage in the laws and profound mystery system. The second was the Voidwalker system. In terms of strength, the Voidwalker system was the most helpful. It was a system with extremely harsh entry requirements, and the number of practitioners was extremely small. At least in the early stages, it had a huge advantage. Mirage Tao? Bloodblade was stunned. Then what about the Tao of Slaughter? I feel like I'm about to make a breakthrough. I just need to accumulate a bit more. Dongwu Shueing said. Many peak-level paragons feel that they are just a bit off when they reach a bottleneck, but who knows how long they have been stuck there. Empress Qianhe shook her head. Dongwu Shueing frowned. Empress Qianhe, what do you mean by that? He had only cultivated for a short period of time. How difficult was it to become a sovereign in the laws and profound mystery system? The reason why he could make a breakthrough in the Tao of Mirage was because of his dream cultivation. It was normal for him not to make a breakthrough in the Tao of Slaughter. What did Empress Qianhe mean by those words? Dongwu Shueing, don't be angry. I'm just regretful that you did not make a breakthrough in the Tao of Slaughter. Empress Qianhe said, What's there to regret about? Dongwu Shueing felt puzzled. I also hope that you can make a breakthrough in the Tao of Slaughter. It might be of greater help to us in the war against the ancestor mother religion. Bloodblade said. Dongwu Shueing was slightly enlightened. The Tao of Mirage, it specialized in survival, concealment, and illusory techniques. It was weak in direct combat, but he was a ruler of a stronger cultivation system. Hua! 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 Suddenly, many figures appeared in the surroundings. They were none other than Monarch Green, who was emitting an endless suppressive aura, Primal Master, who was wearing a simple robe, and the other rulers. Other than the traitor, bloody ruler Nile who had died, the other rulers were gathered here. Naturally, most of them were incarnations. Dongbua, congratulations on becoming a ruler. Dongbua Shuang, congratulations on becoming a ruler. For you to become a ruler so quickly, it is highly possible for you to become a void god in the future. Congratulations. All of them came over to congratulate him. Dongbua Shuang also responded with a smile. Including Dongbua Shuang, there were a total of 10 rulers present. They were also the 10 strongest existences in the cultivator cosmos. All right, Dongbua Shuang, which Dao did you use to become a ruler? Primal Master asked. Dongbua Shuang felt puzzled. You're the oldest living Primal Master, and you're asking about this too? Dao Mirage. Dongbua Shuang answered straightforwardly. Oh, Primal Master nodded. He did not say anything else. Dao Mirage. The other rulers were relatively calm, though some revealed looks of disappointment. What's the matter? What exactly happened? Dongbua Shuang asked. Bloodblade answered. They're concerned about which Dao you broke through because of the war with the ancestor mother religion. What's the current situation? Dongbua Shuang was very concerned too, even though he had asked his wife Jing Xiu about it. In reality, the paragons, ordinary powerful existences, world deities, and elites who were worth nurturing had all migrated to the Lake Heart Island historical remain. Jing Xiu and Paragon Hua Cheng did not participate in the war and only knew the most basic information. Those with lower statuses knew even less. After all, it was impossible for the rulers to reveal the details of the war to the public. Firstly, they were afraid that there were still traitors hiding and revealing some secrets to the ancestor mother religion. Secondly, there was no need for them to tell the paragons and powerful existences. Thus, Dongbua Shuang knew very little about this war. Ha ha! Bloodblade laughed as he said this. The ancestor mother religion has been fighting quite fiercely with us at the start. The disturbance caused by the battle was too huge, causing many regions to be destroyed and many beings to die. But these are unavoidable. Wait till the crucial moment. The ancestor mother religion has made use of bloody ruler Nile to scheme against us. We have beaten them at their own game, causing them to suffer a huge loss, causing them to become weaker in the war. As for now, look over there. Bloodblade pointed to the void to the left. It's in that direction. Look carefully. Dongbua Shuang looked up. His vision penetrated through the obstructions of space. Very soon, he saw a strange spherical fort in the starry sky. This fort was simple and unadorned. It was grayish-white in color, and there were beautiful patterns on its surface. The complexity and profoundness of these patterns far surpassed that of this black stone pillar beneath his feet. It can actually isolate my senses? Dongbua Shuang was slightly startled. His vision could not penetrate through that fort. Do you see it? That is the base of the ancestor mother religion. Bloodblade looked from afar. They are currently trapped in their base. It's a pity that this base is too sturdy. We have tried many methods and even some taboo energies that we are afraid of. We have disregarded everything and used them, yet we could not damage that fort at all. The treasures they possess far surpass ours, Primal Master said. Fortunately, our cultivation system is stronger than theirs. Furthermore, Bloodblade is controlling everything, allowing us to advance step by step until they are in desperate straits. Qing Jun said, I heard that their universe has reached its final stage and is undergoing its final collapse. Although the collapse of the universe as a whole is very slow, many of the relics inside will begin to be destroyed, and a large number of treasures in the relics will be discovered, so their treasures naturally far exceed ours. Dongbua Shuang was enlightened. Just like the Lake Heart Island historical remain, the Six Heavenly Wheel, and other historical remains, many treasures could not be obtained. But the moment the cosmos began collapsing, these historical remains would naturally collapse too, and many treasures would appear. Furthermore, The cosmos of the ancestor mother religion had experienced many cosmos epochs, and its history was much longer than that of the cultivator cosmos. Now that it was collapsing, how many treasures would there be? Kevin was on the verge of collapsing. He had finally finished writing. He had to continue writing. There was still the second chapter. Star. Chapter 775. Their advantage lies in their treasures, but their weakness is obvious too. They are unable to absorb the energy of the world. They have to rely on deity crystals to recover the energy consumed in battle. There might be some unique treasures that can forcefully absorb energy, but the rate of absorption is ultimately too slow. If they were to die in battle, the price for them to refine another avatar would be even higher. Pang Yi said, and we are the opposite. We have an endless supply of energy. Even if we were to die in battle, we could refine another avatar. In addition, Bloodblade has allowed us to refine another avatar, giving us a greater advantage in overall combat power. Since the start of the war, they rarely launch an attack. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Bloodblade said, other than this stone pillar, have you followed the connection between the arrays of the stone pillars to investigate the other regions? Oh. Dongbua Shuang inspected carefully. With a glance, he discovered that this black stone pillar beneath his feet was filled with vast power. The arrays were stacked on top of one another, covering a region spanning 1 trillion kilometers. Nonetheless, it was still connected to the void, connecting to a distant location. With the current senses of Dongbua Shuang, he was able to rapidly follow the connection. 2 pillars, 3 pillars, 4 pillars, 5 pillars. Dongbua Shuang soon discovered. Surrounding the base of the ancestor mother religion, there were a total of 10 black stone pillars intertwining with each other, forming an incomparably huge array. Every stone pillar had a large number of shackles attached to it. These shackles seemed to be entangling the base of the ancestor mother religion through the void. According to the myriad catalog you gave me, I've discovered an array called the 12 primal pillars. Bloodblade said, I've relied on the materials and treasures we have to refine these 12 primal pillars. Even though the materials are slightly inferior, the refining method and array layout are completely the same. Its power should be 50% of the original. 12 primal pillars? There were clearly 10 stone pillars, yet the array was called 12 primal pillars. Dongbua Shuang felt puzzled. The array itself has 12 primal pillars, but the array is extremely complex. Constructing a single primal pillar will require a lot of time. Bloodblade said, the ancestor mother religion isn't foolish. They will also act to obstruct us from constructing the array. Currently, we have only constructed 10 primal pillars and can't construct the 11th because we lack manpower. The moment the 12 primal pillars were formed, they would completely trap the ancestor mother religion. The lair was completely sealed like a prison, make them unable to come out again. Being trapped in there, unable to obtain resources, unable to obtain energy, unable to cultivate, and unable to come out is equivalent to being defeated. That's why they'll try their best to stop us from setting up the formation. But before the 12 primal pillars form a complete array, every single primal pillar is slightly weaker. They require a ruler to defend against the attacks of the ancestor mother religion. Without a ruler protecting them, a large group of religious leaders from the ancestor mother religion can easily destroy the array of a single primal pillar. Bloodblade said, if one is destroyed, we can only reconstruct it. However, if one of the most important primal pillars is taken away, it will be very troublesome to reconstruct them. That's why there must be a guardian. Currently, Purgatory, Monarch Green, and Primal Master have 2 avatars each. They have split up and guarded 6 of the primal pillars. Bloodblade said, Abyss Primogenitor has 2 avatars working together to guard a single primal pillar. Pang Yi also has 2 avatars protecting a single primal pillar. Temporal Island Lord and Myriad God Palace Head are working together to guard a single primal pillar. This final 10th primal pillar will usually be guarded by me, Bloodblade said, but the moment I want to construct the 11th primal pillar, my true body and avatars have to move together. Furthermore, I have the help of Blackbird. Only then can I successfully construct the array while resisting against the attacks of the ancestor mother religion. But at that time, this 10th primal pillar can only be guarded by Empress Qianhe. Empress Qianhe can't defend it, so we can't construct the 11th primal pillar. Empress Qianhe helplessly said, "The guardian of the primal pillar has to face the enemy head-on. It has a high requirement for one's combat power. I'm too weak in direct combat. Temporal Island Lord and I have 2 avatars each. A total of 4 avatars have to work together before we can defend a single primal pillar." Empress Qianhe, you can't be blamed for this, Myriad God Palace had said. Dong Buishui incompletely understood after hearing that. Bloodblade's true body avatar and Blackbird 5th Uncle Master had to work together to construct a new primal pillar. The Guardians could only be other rulers. Purgatory Ruler, Monarch Green, and Primal Master were all very powerful. They could each defend 2 primal pillars. Pang, E, and Abyss Primogenitor were slightly weaker. They could each defend 1 primal pillar. Temporal Island Lord and Myriad God Palace Head had to work together to defend 1 primal pillar. Empress Qianhe's combat power could not even compare to Temporal Island Lord and Myriad God Palace Head. I originally hoped that you would become a ruler through the Tao of Slaughter. That way, your combat power will be much stronger. Bloodblade said, "Even though you are a new ruler, if you work together with Empress Qianhe and rely on the power of the Primal Pillars array, it is still possible for you to defend it. Right now, you have become a ruler through the Tao of Mirage." The other rulers felt slightly regretful. Becoming a ruler through the Tao of Mirage would make one strong in terms of survivability, but it would be weak in direct combat. Primal Master chuckled. "Let's give it a try. After all, we have one more ruler. Who knows, we might be able to construct the 11th stone pillar." Dongwa's combat power might be too weak, but he might succeed if he works together with Empress Qianhe. Pang E added, "We do not care about the energy in our bodies. We have the world energy to replenish it. There's no harm in giving it a try. Let's give it a try." Bloodblade nodded. Dongbua Shui Ying felt helpless. He could feel that the rulers present did not have much confidence in him. But if he insisted on claiming that he was formidable, he would not be able to do so. It was better to prove it in battle. "When do we begin?" Dongbua Shui Ying asked. "I'm looking forward to it." Abyss Primogenitor mocked. "You are filled with fighting spirit." Primal Master chuckled too. "Don't be anxious. Let's take a look at the previous attacks from the ancestor mother religion. That way, we will be mentally prepared." Bloodblade shook his head. He then waved his hand, causing a scene to appear by the side. That was the peak of an enormous primal pillar. A barefooted and bald Monarch Green was wearing a loose golden robe. He was calmly looking at a wooden warship that appeared in front of him. There were even many roots entwined on the warship. This wooden warship was huge, and its power rumbled as it came crushing down. Many battle scenes were being shown. Dongbua Shui Ying had finally experienced it. The ancestor mother religion did not fight one-on-one with the cultivators. They completely relied on their accumulated treasures to battle. In terms of power, they had surpassed the rulers. No wonder the avatars of Bloodblade had died more than once in battle. This primal pillar was extraordinary too. By relying on the primal pillar with Monarch Green strength, an avatar was sufficient to defend a location. Dongbua Shui Ying even asked, "Don't we still have our true bodies at the Lake Heart Island? If we defend it, we should be able to complete the array soon, right? No matter when, our true bodies must never participate in the battle." Bloodblade solemnly said. Pang E chuckled too. "We do not know if the ancestor mother religion has any other terrifying moves. The moment we use our true bodies and avatars will die, and we will truly die. Previously, we were close to victory several times, but we discovered that the ancestor mother religion was deliberately enticing us. Fortunately, no matter how tempted we felt, we did not send our true bodies. Thus, we will always hold the upper hand. The more they use their treasures, the less energy they have. They will undoubtedly lose." Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. The more tempted they felt, the more they could not gamble. because the cultivator cosmos could not afford to lose. On the peak of the towering primal pillar, Donghua Shuiying and Empress Qian He were both standing there. When the time comes, we must hold on and do our best. All avatars will attack together. Blood Blade instructed. Rest assured. Donghua Shuiying nodded. His other body, red-robed Donghua Shuiying, was currently within the Eden treasure that he brought with him. He could appear at any time. Amen. I'll do my best to construct the array. As long as you all can hold on until I succeed, I'll only need an avatar to guard the new primal pillar. The other avatars and blackbirds can come and support you all. Bloodblade instructed. All right, I'll begin. Donghua Shuiying nodded. He looked in other directions. There was a ruler on every other primal pillar. Monarch Green, Peng, Purgatory Ruler, Primal Master, and others were all looking at him with a smile. This time, the most important target was where Donghua Shuiying was. Because the Ancestor Mother religion had tried attacking the other primal pillars to no avail, they would definitely attack this direction. Donghua Shuiying, when the time comes, it will depend on your strength. Naturally, I'll do my best too. Empress Qian He said. Empress Qian He, just wait and see. Donghua Shuiying looked at the surrounding starry sky. Be careful. The moment they discover Bloodblade constructing the array, they will rush over at their fastest speed. Empress Qian He reminded. At the same time, she was carefully looking in all directions. She did not have much confidence in Donghua Shuiying, so she naturally had to do her best. Chapter 776. Donghua Shuiying was wearing a white robe. He held onto a black spear as he stood at the peak of the primal pillar, waiting silently. Many cold air currents were revolving around the peak of the primal pillar. That was the slight undulation caused by the activation of the primal pillar arrays. The air currents swept across his robes, causing them to flutter. Empress Qian He was feeling vaguely anxious. After all, she had tried several times before, but she could not defend against it. On the contrary, Donghua Shuiying had a solemn expression. His eyes were cold and filled with killing intent as he looked at the distant starry sky. He was waiting for the enemy to arrive. This brat has just become a ruler and has never experienced the strength of a ruler before, much less a war between two cosmoses. That isn't a one-on-one fight, but a large group of rulers working together and relying on treasures to attack. Their power is much more terrifying. In the distance, Empress Qian He saw that Donghua Shuiying was calmer than her. She could not help but grumble inwardly. He has no experience and has become a ruler after cultivating for such a short period. He should be overconfident. In a while, he will know how powerful he is. Even though she hoped for their side to win, Empress Qian He had to acknowledge the strength of the Ancestor Mother religion. Amen. Donghua Shuiying's eyes brightened. Being a ruler who cultivated the Void Walker system, he was the first to discover the undulation with his senses towards the void. He looked into the distance. They are here. They are here. Donghua Shuiying, be careful. They have arrived. The other rulers had also discovered it. Some even took the initiative to warn Donghua Shuiying. Because the Ancestor Mother religion had appeared closest to Donghua Shuiying, it was unquestionable that the Ancestor Mother religion had chosen the primal pillar guarded by Donghua Shuiying and Empress Qian He as their target. After all, they had tried other places and failed to break through. This was the only place where they had hope of breaking through. Ripples of the void appeared in the distant darkness, spreading out in all directions. At the core of these ripples of the void, an ancient, strange-looking battleship covered in coiling roots appeared. It was approximately 100 million kilometers long, and ordinary planets were like tiny specks compared to it. Of course, in a battle between rulers, this couldn't be considered huge. Boom! This ancient warship flew over in the dark void because it appeared at the outermost perimeter of the primordial pillars array. Therefore, at this moment, when it flew over at high speed, it had triggered the obstruction of the elemental pillar arrays. Layer upon layer of arrays appeared, and the warship directly collided with these arrays, causing continuous shock waves to surge out in all directions. However, the countless stars on this battlefield had long since been annihilated, and the shockwaves only continued to spread through the dark void until they were finally exhausted. The warship continued to advance at high speed with an unstoppable momentum. Its flying speed far surpassed that of a normal sovereign. What terrifying power! Dongbua Shuiying was able to sense it through the void, and he could not help but be inwardly shocked. Even I am unable to forcefully break the array of the primal time pillar and kill my way over. But this battleship can. Fortunately, I can rely on the power of the primal time pillar during battle. Otherwise, any ruler would not be able to resist this warship. But Teacher is able to construct the primal pillar with the help of Blackbird Fifth Uncle Master and is not afraid of the sneak attacks from the Ancestor Mother Religion. He is indeed formidable. Shuiying glanced to the distance. His vision penetrated through the obstruction of the void and saw another location where Bloodshed, God Emperor, was currently constructing an array. And at this moment, Blackbird Fifth Uncle Master had already turned into a colossus. A huge blackbird that spanned 1 trillion kilometers enveloped the sky above Bloodshed, God Emperor. The two bodies of Bloodshed, God Emperor were working together to construct a new primal pillar. The ancient warship was flying at high speed, but because the primal pillar arrays covered a huge area, it would take the time taken to brew a cup of tea to reach the primal pillar. Within the warship, many religious leaders from the Ancestor Mother Religion were standing there. They were looking at the slightly nervous Empress Qian He and the white-robed young man standing at the forefront wielding a spear. Empress Qian He is the weakest ruler. Furthermore, she doesn't specialize in combat. She poses no threat to us. These religious leaders were clear after many years of fighting. Empress Qian He was more formidable in refining treasures, and her array skills were passable. She was not bad in survival either, but she was weak in combat. Even though there were a few religious leaders who were at the bottom and might be weaker than Empress Qian He, the Ancestor Mother Religion did not fight one-on-one. But the Ancestor Mother Religion did not fight one-on-one. Instead, they relied on treasures to gain an advantage. It seems that they are relying on this Dongbua Shuiying this time. Who would have thought that this Dongbua Shuiying could become a ruler after cultivating for such a short period of time? The fanged religious leader said. His eyes were calm. But a newly ascended brat wants to obstruct us? He must be dreaming. I'm afraid our wooden mustache sacred ship will be able to defeat them with a single attack. Let's do it. Hurry up and defeat Empress Qian He and Dongbua Shuiying. That blood blade will definitely come to their rescue. If he doesn't, we'll destroy the array on that stone pillar and bring it away. These religious leaders were comparatively colder. Their eyes were filled with tyranny. Even though it was within their expectations that the war would progress to this stage, seeing that they were getting closer and closer to defeat, every religious leader felt as if a heavy stone was pressing down on their hearts. They were not willing to lose like this. They were still searching for an opportunity. Dongbua Shuiying watched from afar. That ancient battleship was flying at high speed. It was getting closer and closer. Soon, it's about to reach my domain. Dongbua Shuiying thought. He looked to the distance. Through the obstruction of the void, he could see many life planets in the distant deity world. Many beings were reproducing and living there. They did not know that a war that would decide their fates was looming over their heads. If they lost, all beings in the cultivator cosmos would be exterminated. Dongbua Shuiying looked in the direction of the Lake Heart Island. There were many powerful existences, world deities, and some cultivators with higher talents over there. They had been relocated there and understood that the war was ongoing. Yet they could only wait uneasily for their fates to be decided. This is my hometown cosmos. Jingqiu, Yu'er, Qingyao, many people are living here. Nobody can think of snatching this place away. Dongbua Shuiying's eyes were filled with coldness. It's here. Can Dongbua hold on? Empress Qian He is too weak. She is weaker than Temporal Island Lord and Myriad God Palace Head. Temporal Island Lord and Myriad God Palace Head have to work together to defend against it. Dongbua Shuiying only has the help of Empress Qian He. Can he hold on? I'm just giving it a try. Even if he fails, things won't get any worse. The rulers on the other primal pillars, Monarch Green, Peng E, Primal Master, Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Head, and others were all paying close attention to this place. Even Bloodblade, who was in the midst of setting up his array, was giving it his all. His true body on the Lake Heart Island was watching Dongbua swaying from afar. Even that blackbird fifth martial uncle who had transformed into the size of a continent was looking at Dongbua swaying from afar. Dongbua brat, you have a hold on. Your master has spent too much effort for the sake of victory. You have to do your best as well. Dongbua Shuiying stood there and stared into the distance. All of a sudden, Dongbua Shuiying's body abruptly expanded, turning into a giant. This giant was about 50 million kilometers tall, and even the core of the primal pillar beneath his feet became inconspicuous. This startled Empress Qian, he who was standing vigilantly on the primal pillar. She looked up at the white-robed young man who was more than 50 million kilometers tall. She could not help but transmit over, Dongbua Shuiying, it'll be easier to defend at the core of the primal pillar. Even if your body becomes bigger, it won't help your combat power. But it'll be easier to fight like this. Dongbua Shuiying's voice boomed across the world. He held onto his spear with a single hand. This spear was also more than 50 million kilometers long. One could see blood waves erupting from the surface of his body. Long, the blood waves surged out in all directions, though they were slightly affected in other directions. Most of them were still charging in the direction of that simple and unadorned warship. Countless blood waves were spreading out continuously. Soon, they reached a distance of more than 50 million kilometers, 200 million kilometers, and the religious leaders in that ancient warship were watching with shock as the surging blood sea surged over. Aren't you overestimating your strength? The religious leaders did not care about it at all. Void, Dongbua Shuiying thought. Wang, being a void walker, he cultivated using the primal chaos void energy from outside the cosmos. He was naturally good at controlling the void. It was not obvious when he was at the Paragon realm, but when he stepped into the ruler realm, he became extremely formidable. It was said that only void gods could enter the primal chaos void to travel. And the Void Walker system was the darling of the primal chaos void and could enter the primal chaos void after reaching the ruler realm. At the ruler realm, his control of the void had reached a frightening stage. Currently, his Tao of Slaughter and Tao of Ripple had not reached the eternal perfection realm. In terms of domain power, his control of the void was beyond that of the Slaughter domain. It's just that he had to use all his strength in this battle. Primal Pillar. Being the protector, Dongbua Shuiying began controlling the array energy of the primal pillar to support himself. Many layers of arrays began fluctuating above the slaughter domain. Long, the ancient warship came crashing over. It had finally reached the boundary of the blood waves. This place was just 150 million kilometers away from the core of the primal pillar. The power of the array here was huge, and it had suppressed the power of this warship to a relatively low level. If Monarch Green or Primal Master were here, an avatar of theirs could resist against it. And at this moment, under the suppression of the slaughter domain and the control of the void by Dongbua Shuiying, the speed of the ancient warship was greatly reduced. Its flying speed was not even 1/100th of its original speed. He actually suppressed it. Primal Master, Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Head, and other rulers who were watching the battle from afar revealed looks of wild joy. Even a huge blackbird fifth Uncle Master was slightly startled and did not dare believe it. Bloodshed Godemperor's true body was also slightly ecstatic. They had not even engaged in close combat. Just by relying on his domain, he could reduce the speed of the ancient warship to this extent. Just how strong is this domain? He should be able to defeat me just by relying on his domain, right? Empress Qian, he could not help but think from the peak of the primal pillar. Chapter 777. That was indeed the case. The moment a Void Walker stepped into the ruler realm, he would have the combat power of an apex ruler of other systems. Just by controlling the Void, he could suppress some of the weaker rulers. Currently, that ancient worship was under the influence of the primal pillar array. Because it was close to the core, the power of the worship had been suppressed to 20 to 30%. If one were to say that its original power was far above that of Dongbua Shuang, now that it was reduced to 20 to 30%, it was no longer unstoppable to Dongbua Shuang. With the slaughter domain and void suppression, even though the warship could still fly at high speed, it was much slower than in the past. What? Its flying speed is so slow? The power of this blood wave is so great? The religious leaders were greatly alarmed. They did not dare believe that this was real. They were wrong. On the surface, the most dazzling slaughter domain would at most cause some of the weaker rulers to feel troubled. Instead, the void suppression that was hidden within was several times stronger than the slaughter domain. Naturally, if one could step into the ruler realm in both the Tao of Slaughter and Tao of Ripple, the power of the slaughter domain would experience a qualitative breakthrough. His flying speed is so slow. This Dongbua Shuang has yet to engage in close combat. As long as he displays his spear techniques, he should be able to stop the wood mustache sacred ship easily. Maybe the Tao he has broken through in is only strong in his domain and weaker in close combat. Stop the sacred ship. Proceed with the attack and kill this avatar of Dongbua Shuang. The religious leaders rapidly made their decision. They did not have time to waste because Bloodblade was currently constructing a new primal pillar. They had to deal with Dongbua Shuang as soon as possible. If they did not defeat him, they would not be able to reach the core of the primal pillar and destroy this array. After the ancient battleship came to a stop, the surface of the battleship was covered in many densely packed roots. Abruptly, they flew out and covered the sky as they attacked Shuang from all directions. Every single root was filled with life energy. It was as if countless whips were lashing out at the same time. The power was so strong that it left Shuang speechless. Fortunately, the layers of arrays had greatly reduced its power. In addition to the void suppression and the impact of the slaughter domain, these roots had become very weak. Even so, most rulers would still have a hard time defending against such a group attack. They would most likely be defeated in an instant. This was also the reason why the Myriad God Palace Master and the Temporal Island Lord had to work together to defend against it. Can he defend against it? Since Dongbua Shuang has such a strong domain, he should be able to defend against it. He'll definitely be able to defend against it, with his domain suppressing the attacks of the ancestor mother religion. Even if he is weaker in close combat, he should be able to defend against it. After all, he has two avatars, and Empress Qian he can help him too. Primordial Master, Peng Yi, Abyss Ancestor, and company looked nervous. They were all hoping for victory, but they were also afraid that Dongbua Shuang was only formidable in his domain and weak in close combat. Shuang, who was more than 50 million kilometers tall, stood there. The surface of his body suddenly emitted many strands of black light. Every single strand of black light followed the strange undulations and advanced at high speed, pouncing on every single root. Termination energy. Even without using any laws and profound mysteries, the power of the termination energy was terrifying, much less when Dongbua Shuang displayed the first volume of Wind Ripple Path. The first volume was relatively simple. During a group attack, Dongbua Shuang could control more than 1,000 termination energy at the same time. For the time being, he could not control more than 1,000 termination energy at the same time. Dongbua Shuang, let me help you. Empress Qian, he also flew out of the core of the primal pillar towards Dongbua Shuang. Pung pung pung. At this moment, many rays of black light clashed against the roots. Every ray of black light contained a strange fluctuation, causing the roots to soften after being struck. Looking over, the originally densely packed roots seemed to have turned soft after being struck by the large amount of black light. They no longer had any power. He actually broke this move just like that? The religious leaders did not dare believe it. It was fine if his domain was formidable. Facing a group attack, he could still separate more than 1,000 rays of black light to defend against it. The crucial point was that they had not seen Dongbua Shui Ying unleashing his spear. We can't use a group attack. His black light is too powerful. The religious leaders did not know that this was the termination energy, that the Void Walkers had the most destructive offensive power. Then we shall suppress him directly. Attack. The religious leaders were slightly anxious. They felt that something was amiss. At this moment, be it Empress Qianni, who was rushing over to help Dongbua Shuiying, Blackbird Fifth Uncle Master, Bloodblade, who was constructing the array, Primal Master, Monarch Green, Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Head, and the other rulers, all of them were watching nervously. They could feel that victory was in sight. Dongbua Shuiying's strength had far surpassed their imaginations. They felt ecstatic, even though it was unexpected. It was what they were looking forward to. First, his domain was already so terrifying. Now, he could easily deal with a group attack. With such strength, he might be able to resist against it. Hua, at the bow of that simple and unadorned battleship, the two longest roots entwined and arced through the sky, tearing it apart. Everywhere it passed, a pitch-black, strange, illusory figure would appear. It tore apart the layers of stacked arrays and tried its best to break through the void suppression and the slaughter domain, directly killing towards Shuang. It's here. Monarch Green and the others were nervous. Even I have to rely on the Tao of Mountain to defend against it. Monarch Green thought. He was clear how terrifying this attack was. This is a suppressive technique. Can we defend against it? They were all watching nervously. As long as they could defend against this move, even though that battleship had other techniques, the previous one was a group attack that was hard to deal with. This move was the strongest, and if they could defend against it, the threat of the other moves would be low. He's using his spear. He's finally using his spear technique. The rulers were all watching carefully. What a unique spear technique. It seems like it isn't a perfect eternal Tao. It feels like a diffusion of slaughter and ripple. But in terms of profoundness, it's extremely profound. Bloodblade and the others had sharp eyes. They had their own judgments. Indeed, it was just like how Monarch Green fought against rulers of the Paragon Realm. Even though the Tao of Ripple and Tao of Slaughter had yet to reach eternity, they had reached a bottleneck. By fusing them together, Dongbua Shui Ying had created the Wind Ripple Path based on the large number of books in the Primogenitor or Devil Mountain and his own comprehensions. In terms of profoundness, it was sufficient to fight against rulers, much less now that he had created the fourth volume. And at this moment, he was displaying the fourth volume. Fourth Wind Ripple Path, Extremity. The spear arced through a mysterious trajectory. Ripples revolved around the spear and converged at the spearhead. There seemed to be an invisible point at the spearhead. The ripples eventually converged at this point. Dongbua Shui Ying named this spear Extremity. Pung! The spearhead pierced through that root that tore through everything. The long and tough ancient root trembled. The energy within had been dissipated by the strange ripples. The root also softened. This scene caused the hearts of the religious leaders to turn cold. In terms of strength, the majority of the religious leaders who specialized in strength could not compare to Dongbua Shuiying. In terms of profoundness, they could not compare. We lost. He's too powerful. We can't stop him. The religious leaders understood this point. Even though the wood mustache sacred vessel had other techniques, they understood that it could not stop Dongbua Shuiying at all. What made them feel the greatest pain was that Dongbua Shuiying had only fought with a single body from start to end. His other avatar did not appear at all. Just like Monarch Green, Primal Master, and Purgatory Ruler, they could defend with just a single avatar. These religious leaders felt their hearts turning cold. He still has another avatar that can continue defending another primal pillar. The religious leaders felt their hearts turning cold and unresigned. As for the cultivators, they were truly in ecstasy. This joy came too suddenly, and they could not adapt to it. A single avatar can resist against it. He resisted head-on. Everyone, including the bloodshed God Emperor, felt dazed. Primal Master laughed out loud. Dongbua Shuiying's strength is deep and unfathomable. In terms of strength, he might be above me. Monarch Green, Purgatory, how do the two of you feel? He should be comparable to the two of us. Monarch Green answered. Amen. He is stronger in direct combat. Purgatory Ruler said, he is lacking in the laws and profound mysteries, but his overall strength is at our level. After the years of war, everyone understood each other's strength well. The strongest was Bloodblade. His superiority was clear, especially with the help of Blackbird. He became even more tyrannical. Following that was Purgatory Ruler and Monarch Green. Primal Master, Peng Yi, and the others had to lean towards the back. But Primal Master had lived for a long time and had many techniques. Currently, when Dongbua Shui Ying revealed his strength, he was already comparable to Purgatory Ruler and Monarch Green. Ha! No matter what, he is definitely stronger than me. Dongbua Shui Ying is able to defend the Primal Pillar with just a single avatar. He still has another avatar. The 12 primordial pillars can all be set up successfully. Pantheon Palace Master was extremely happy. Amen. This first primal pillar of mine will be constructed in a while. Bloodblade was slightly excited. Finally, the 12 primal pillars are about to be constructed. The battleship of the ancestor mother religion struggled for a dozen more times before giving up and retreating. And the cultivators were extremely happy. Very soon, Bloodblade succeeded in constructing the primal pillar. South, Red Robe Dongbua Shui Ying used the void evasive maneuver to rush to where his teacher, Bloodblade, was constructing the array. Teacher, Red Robe Dongbua Shui Ying arrived. Snow Eagle, Bloodblade had just finished constructing. He was extremely happy to see his disciple. Leave this first primal pillar to me. Red Robe Dongbua Shui Ying said. All right. Bloodblade laughed. I can't hold it in any longer. I'll construct the final primal pillar in one fell swoop. I've waited for far too long. Who would have thought that I could construct all 12 primal pillars today? Red Robe Dongbua Shui Ying landed on the peak of that primal pillar. Bloodblade looked at his disciple before turning to the surrounding void. His gaze pierced through the endless distance, looking at the countless planets and cultivators. He had a smile on his face. The fatigue in his heart was dissipating. This war might be coming to an end. Chapter 778. Snow Eagle. Bloodblade instructed. Right now, we are constructing the final primal pillar. The closer we are to success, the more careful we have to be. The ancestor mother religion has retaliated against us more than once. You have to defend 2 primal pillars at the same time. You must be careful. This disciple understands. The more it is at this moment, the more we must not be careless. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. Bloodblade, you can be rest assured. This disciple of yours is quite formidable. It will be easy for him to defend against the ancestor mother religion. The black bird on the shoulder of Bloodblade shouted. Bloodblade chuckled. He then looked to the distance and took a step. South, piercing through space, he soon arrived at the final array formation point of the 12 primal pillars. At this moment, Dongbua Shui Ying, Peng Yi, Monarch Green, Purgatory Ruler, Primal Master, Temporal Island Lord, Empress Qian He, and the others were watching from afar. They could not help but feel nervous. The closer they were to success, the more nervous they became. They were afraid that the ancestor mother religion with a deep foundation would have some formidable technique to break their array formation. Everyone, be careful. The ancestor mother religion will definitely not be willing to admit defeat like this. Dongbua Shui Ying, the primal pillars that the rest of us are defending have been attacked multiple times. Only you suffered a single attack. The next time the ancestor mother religion acts, it is highly likely that they will target you. Right? You have to be careful here. Everyone was on tenterhooks. And in the distance, Blackbird 5th Uncle Master had already transformed into an incomparably huge body. He was like a great land covering the sky above Bloodblade. The 2 avatars of Bloodblade were doing their best to construct the final primal pillar. They are here. The ancestor mother religion is here. Dongbua Shui Ying was the first to discover it. The other rulers discovered it too. The ancestor mother religion still used that ancient battleship, but this time there were specks of jade green light circulating on the surface of the battleship. It seemed slightly unique. The location where the battleship appeared was close to the newly constructed primal pillar. It was also where the red-robed Dongbua Shui Ying was defending. That Dongbua Shui Ying was able to withstand the attack head-on the last time. His physical strength must be extremely strong. Normally, a strong physical body would require the help of an external object. Those external materials are very rare and might only be sufficient for a single avatar to cultivate. The religious leaders from the ancestor mother religion were looking at the red-robed young man standing on the peak of the primal pillar. His robe was fluttering. He held onto a violet spear as he coldly stared at the incoming battleship. The conjecture of the ancestor mother religion was logical. For instance, the ancestor mother religion system required a huge amount of resources. Otherwise, they would not be able to increase their realm. For example, Dongbua Shui Ying had once cultivated the initial scroll of the myriad devil true body. In order to cultivate it in a short period of time, he had consumed a large amount of precious treasures. This was because the rapid strengthening of one's body required an external source of energy. Simply relying on absorbing the power of the world was far too slow. Usually, one had to rely on extremely powerful external sources. Even though the ancestor mother religion's guess was logical, it was wrong. The walker's hidden secret, that Dongbua Shui Ying cultivated, was an external source of energy, the primal chaos void energy. The primal chaos void energy could be said to be rare. After all, most void gods could only enter the primal chaos void, and it was hard for them to make use of this terrifying energy. Even if one were to say that it was too much, the primal chaos void was boundless. It contained many cosmos within, and the primal chaos void energy was much greater than the world energy. Hence, to Dongbua Shui Ying, his true body and his two avatars could easily cultivate the walker's hidden secret to the 11th level. Naturally, the outcome of the ancestor mother religion's attack was predictable. What? This body of his is equally powerful. He can't win at all. Even though the ancestor mother religion's techniques were slightly strange, the red-robed Dongbua Shui Ying was able to resist against the ancestor mother religion with just a spear and his control of the void and slaughter domain. He was able to protect this primal pillar. Time passed second by second. Red-robed Dongbua Shui Ying was doing his best to deal with the ancestor mother religion. He did not dare to be distracted. But white-robed Dongbua Shui Ying and Empress Qian, he were paying close attention to the side of Bloodblade. Monarch Green, Primal Master, Peng Yi, Temporal Island Lord, and the others were nervously watching from afar. Almost there. Just a little bit more. All of them were nervously watching as Bloodblade constructed the final primal pillar. Bloodblade was also doing his best. The enormous black bird swept its cold eyes in all directions. It was on guard at all times. Everyone knew that this was the most crucial moment. When all the shackles on the surface of that primal pillar permeated into the void, many deity runes began flowing. Dong, that enormous primal pillar, let out a booming sound. Many arrays had completely linked together, and this primal pillar had finally become a perfect entity. Ha! Bloodblade could not help but grin at the moment he succeeded. He did not realize how big his grin was. It's a success. It's a success. The 12 primal pillars are finally completed. Dongbua Shui Ying, Empress Qian He, Peng Yi, Temporal Island Lord, and the other rulers watching from afar were all excited. Even though they felt that they were nearing success, it was only when the actual primal pillar was successfully constructed that they let out a sigh of relief. And that ancient warship had already given up and chose to retreat. The 12 primal pillars revolved around the base of the ancestor mother religion, forming an unseen void cage. Every single primal pillar had a ruler from the cultivator's side standing on it. The newest primal pillar had Bloodshed God Emperor standing there too. The rulers looked at each other from afar. They all revealed a smile. It was a joyous smile. Bloodblade. Activate the arrays and suppress the base of the ancestor mother religion. Abyss Primogenitor was in high spirits. Bloodblade, we can begin. Empress Qian, his face was flushed red. She was exceptionally beautiful, and her eyes were filled with anticipation. Teacher, let's begin. Donghua Shuang was also looking forward to it. He had joined the war relatively late, and the cultivators had already occupied an absolute advantage. But his combat power had still helped his side, allowing them to construct the 12 primal pillars faster. All right, the other rulers were looking forward to it. Bloodblade felt his blood boiling too. He immediately began controlling all the primal pillars. Hong Long Long, the 12 primal pillars immediately began connecting the arrays. In the past, due to the lack of primal pillars, the entire large-scale array was broken. It was like a cage, and a broken cage that the enemies could enter and leave whenever they wanted. But now, this void cage had become perfect and flawless. There were no loopholes at all. Hua, hua, hua. One could see many void shackles appearing on the surface of the base of the ancestor mother religion. These void shackles were transparent. They emitted hua, hua, hua sounds as they wrapped around the base. These void shackles were intertwined with each other, and these translucent void shackles were filled with flowing patterns. These patterns intertwined with each other, tightly wrapping the entire base of the ancestor mother religion without leaving a single gap. Furthermore, Donghua Shuang could no longer sense the existence of the ancestor mother religion. The base of the ancestor mother religion has been completely sealed. Bloodblade revealed a grin. The ancestor mother religion has no way of breaking out of the seal. This day has finally arrived. The sovereigns on the primal pillars, who were scattered in all directions, all revealed looks of joy. We have fought so many times previously, and we were always lacking by a little each time. This time, we have truly trapped them. Pang, he chuckled. Perhaps it is time for this war to end. Primal Master nodded. It is time to end it. It has been too long. My heart is too tired. These 100,000 years are more tiring than cultivating for 1,000,000,000,000 years. The other rulers were all talking. They were relatively relaxed. It is still junior disciple Brother Donghua who is the most relaxed. He slept until the end and fought for the shortest amount of time. Monarch Green chuckled as he looked at the distant Donghua Shuang. Even though the time was short, if not for Donghua, we would have to delay for a period of time to win. Myriad God Palace Head added, "Fellow rulers." Bloodblade spoke. He stopped the joyous rulers. All the rulers, including Donghua Shuang, turned to Bloodblade. Bloodblade was unquestionably the leader. His frightening attainments in the arrays allowed him to gain the upper hand time and time again in this war. Right now, we can only say that we have won half the war. Bloodblade chuckled. Even though I am certain that they cannot break the suppression of the 12 primal pillars, they might have some other trump cards. We must not celebrate too early. Chapter 779. Donghua Shuang, Empress Qian He, Monarch Green, Primal Master, Temporal Island Lord, and the other rulers were also looking at the base of the ancestor mother religion, that simple and beautiful spherical fortress. I do want to see what other methods this ancestor mother religion has. Now that it has been sealed by the 12 primal pillars, what else can they do? If they have any formidable techniques, they would not have allowed us to construct the primal pillars successfully. The power of the 12 primal pillars is at the void god level. It is also because Bloodblade has touched the boundary of the void god realm and has relied on the refinement technique of the myriad catalog that he succeeded. I do not believe that they can break it. The rulers were watching from afar. They were chatting with one another. They were waiting for the reaction of the ancestor mother religion. Time passed by second. Donghua Shuang and the others were very patient. Even if the ancestor mother religion wanted to retaliate, they would have to discuss it internally, and it would definitely take some time. Amen? Bloodblade was slightly startled. Donghua Shuang and the others saw it too. Hong Long Long. A hole suddenly opened in one of the spherical fortress. A muscular green-brown-skinned giant was currently standing by the hole. He was barefooted, and there were only a few pieces of rags wrapped around his body. His eyes were incomparably calm, like an endless sea. But because the void shackles had sealed the entire fortress, this fanged hunk could not leave the hole. He said, "Bloodblade, this is merely an incarnation of mine. I do not have any weapons or storage treasures. Even my robe is condensed from energy. Let me out." His voice could not be heard by Dongbua Shui, Ying, and the other rulers. Only Bloodblade, who controlled the 12 primal pillars array, could hear it. A ripple immediately entered the body of the fanged hunk. Indeed, this was merely an incarnation. Even his robe was condensed from energy. He did not have any other items. "Come out." With a thought, Bloodblade enveloped the incarnation of the fanged hunk, teleporting him out of the fortress. Dongbua Shui, Ying, and the others couldn't hear the voice of the huge fanged hunk, but they could see the huge fanged hunk being teleported out. After teleporting out, they were able to scan the huge fanged hunk from afar. Because it was just an incarnation, Dongbua Shui, Ying, and the others were able to scan the huge fanged hunk with ease. It's just an incarnation. No items, no threats. The sovereigns all stared at the Fanged Man. Given their level of power, they could clearly see the Fanged Man's fur, even though they were extremely far away. At this moment, only Bloodblade personally came to the front of the Fanged Man. Dongbua Shui, Ying, and the others were still guarding the primal pillar and watching from afar. Guarding the primal dawn pillar was very important. It cannot be neglected. The rulers are all here. The Fanged sect leader swept his eyes over the surroundings. Even though he couldn't see them, he could guess. He laughed as he spoke. "Speak. What's the matter?" Bloodblade appeared in front of him, calmly speaking. The Fanged sect leader looked at the white-robed Bloodblade clone in front of him and sighed. "Bloodblade, you really are careful. No matter what, you are always so cautious. Even now, we have already won, but the other sovereigns are still guarding the primal dawn pillar. In addition, their true bodies are probably still on the island in the center of the lake." "Yes," Bloodblade nodded. "No matter how great the temptation is, I won't gamble." The huge fanged hunk sighed. "Before this, we set up all sorts of traps. Although we tried to kill you all time and time again, it was all useless." Bloodblade said, "Over the past 100,000 years, we have indeed faced temptation time and time again. However, I am very clear that if we were to attack with our true bodies, we might be able to win. However, we are risking the death of both our true bodies and our clones. If we don't gamble, our true bodies will always be safe. We can cultivate an endless stream of clones to continue fighting. If this continues, even if we use up all of your god crystals, we will still be able to win in the end. Since we will win in the end, why take the risk?" Bloodblade said coldly. "You are very calm." The Fanged Hierophant sighed. "However, to many experts, knowing is one thing, and acting is another. With victory so close at hand, it is normal to be hot-headed. What a pity, what a pity. Is that all you have to say?" Bloodblade continued. Dongbua Shui, Ying, and the other sovereigns watched and listened from afar. The Fanged Hierophant shook his head. "I quite admire you. You're extremely skilled in array formations. You relied on the Void Twin Extreme Array to force us out, then used this Primal Dawn Pillar Array to trap us. It's all because of you. Furthermore, you discovered long ago that the Blood Ruler was a traitor. You pretended not to know and beat us at our own game, causing us to suffer greatly. I still don't understand. How did you discover that the Blood Ruler was a traitor?" "That is a secret," Bloodblade said coldly. Although he himself had some suspicions, the information that Dongbua Shui, Ying had given him back then allowed Bloodblade to almost confirm that the Blood Ruler now was the traitor. "You are really careful. Even now, you are still keeping it a secret." The Fanged Hierophant's expression was slightly bleak. His gaze was somewhat bleak. "My race has been reproducing in our hometown until now. We are extremely powerful. It's just that the universe will eventually age and collapse. And this universe passageway with you is our only chance. We can only fight. If we have an endless supply of heaven and earth energy and a large amount of resources, this battle will most likely be our victory." Bloodblade laughed coldly. "Not treasures, not external help. In a true battle of strength, you are not our match. The fanged Hierophant was stunned. Right? One had to admit that with the help of the doppelganger technique, the sovereigns of the cultivator cosmos had 3 bodies. This made up for their weakness in numbers. In a true battle, the cultivators were indeed stronger. There is no meaning in saying all this. Our protectors are almost all dead. Many of our Hierophant also died. After 100,000 years of fighting, we still lost. The fanged Hierophant said, I came here today because I hope that your cultivator cosmos can give us a path of survival. A path of survival? Bloodblade laughed coldly. Why should we give you a path of survival? We will imprison you until the end of the cosmos epoch. All of you will die. Even if you follow the cosmos passage back to that collapsing cosmos, you will still die. You are dead. We are dead. The fanged Hierophant said. Firstly, we still have the strength to fight. Although we do not have any hope of victory, we will still make you pay a huge price. Secondly, if you give us a path of survival, we can give you many things. For example, treasures. Thirdly, we're only doing this for survival. Bloodblade turned silent. He was secretly discussing with the other rulers. Dongbua Shui Ying and the rest were also rapidly discussing. Are you speaking the truth? Can they still fight? They're already trapped by us, yet they want us to pay the price? Are they trying to scare us? Or do they really have some tricks up their sleeves? They want to occupy our cosmos, yet they want to beg for mercy. Let me ask him again. Bloodblade looked at the fanged Hierophant in front of him. You want a path of survival? What path of survival? There are 2 methods. The huge fanged hunk said, the first path of survival is that you have a good relationship with that Gu Qianluo. He has the primal chaos flying ship. He can let us enter the ship and bring us away. The second path of survival is to continue imprisoning us. Wait until your cultivator cosmos produces another void god. Before the end of the cosmos epoch, your void god will bring the transcended clansmen away. You could just bring us along when you leave. This is our final hope. We have no hope of a war. We only seek for survival. The huge fanged hunk looked at Bloodblade. The ancestor mother religion had reached a dead end. They had no other choice. They could only lower their heads and beg for survival. The right to decide was on the side of the cultivators. The feeling of controlling the fate of the other party felt good. Dongbua Shui Ying, Empress Qianhe, Peng Yi, Bloodblade, and the others might be contemplating, but their moods were extremely good. Unless we won just like that. The war is ending. Dongbua Shui Ying felt that everything had happened too quickly. He had just woken up from his sleep, and the war had ended? Naturally. Only Dongbua Shui Ying felt that everything had happened too quickly. The other rulers felt entirely different. Bloodblade, Primal Master, Abyss Progenitor, Purgatory Ruler, Peng Yi, Monarch Green, Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Head, Empress Qianhe, and the others felt their hearts fluctuating. They were too tired over the past 100,000 years. They did not dare to relax at all. They had schemed and risked their lives time and time again. They had died too many times. They were even close to victory time after time, only to discover that it was a trap. Their hearts were tired, but they had to continue fighting. Finally, Dongbua Shui Ying brought them luck. The war was finally ending. At this moment, they felt relaxed. Even though they were still maintaining a strand of vigilance, their hearts were brimming with joy. Fellow rulers, what do you think? Should we let them live? Bloodblade asked the other rulers. Chapter 780. The 10 rulers who stood at the apex of the cultivator cosmos were discussing. Actually, Dongbua Shui Ying and the rest had the thought of exterminating all the religious leaders from the ancestor mother religion. After all, the 100,000 years of war had affected many regions. Many regions in the deity world and dark abyss had been exterminated, and the number of casualties was uncountable. Dongbua Shui Ying and the rest were filled with killing intent. But the clash between 2 cosmos races could not be carried out recklessly. Firstly, the ancestor mother religion might have the means to force the cultivators to pay a painful price. Secondly, The treasures of the ancestor mother religion were extremely enticing. Just by using them to comprehend and ponder over them, it would be of great help to one's cultivation. All right, then we'll give them a path of survival. We can give them a path of survival, but we must imprison them until the cosmos epic ends. By then, our void gods will bring them away. Right, we must absolutely not let them enter Gu Qianluo's primal chaos flying ship. That Gu Qianluo is extremely wicked. Letting him bring the ancestor mother religion away? I'm afraid there might be some variables. The rulers came to a decision after a simple discussion. Even a rabbit would bite when cornered. Since things had reached this stage, then they would give the enemy a strand of hope. Without hope, the enemy would only go crazy. And with hope, the enemy would obediently wait for the day they would be rescued. If the cultivators were wicked enough, they could completely disregard their promise and not save them. But they would definitely not get those treasures from the ancestor mother religion. I'll go talk to them. Bloodblade said, "It is already benevolent of us to give them a chance of survival since the war has reached this stage. But everyone still has to remain vigilant. The ancestor mother religion isn't worth trusting." Understood. Rest assured, we will always have avatars guarding the primal pillars. In the starry sky, every primal pillar had a ruler guarding it. And in another starry sky, within the primal chaos flying ship, the huge sculpture Gu Qianluo that was emitting a wicked and cold aura was currently smiling. He was looking down at a green-skinned teenager with horns. This green-skinned teenager's eyes were filled with pain and unwillingness. His body was slightly trembling. "Isn't it too overboard?" the green-skinned teenager said with a low voice. "TSK, TSK, TSK, too much?" "Not all. Do you think the cultivators will let you live? They said that they would bring all of you with them when the cosmos epic is about to end, but when the time comes, they won't bring all of you with them. They'll let all of you perish along with this epic. What can you do?" Gu Qianluo laughed. His laughter was filled with disdain. "Placing your hopes on the benevolence of the cultivators. That's too foolish. During the previous 100,000 years of war, you guys had intentionally caused some of the disturbances from the war, killing countless of their clansmen and living beings. The hatred these rulers have for you guys is extremely deep. I'll become your servant from now on. I can promise you that." The green-skinned teenager lowered his voice. "But the treasures of my ancestor mother religion must be passed to you in 2 batches. When you break the primal pillar to save us, you must hand over the first batch. We will construct the ancestor mother altar and hand over the last batch after we win. This is our bottom line. Either you agree, or our ancestor mother religion would rather die." The green-skinned teenager looked up at the enormous sculpture in front of him. Not long after the war erupted, Gu Qianluo had taken the initiative to lure a ruler from the ancestor mother religion into his primal chaos flying ship. In the past, rulers were forbidden from entering because he was in a deep slumber. Now that he was awake, especially within the primal chaos flying ship, he did not care about a ruler. As the war progressed, the ancestor mother religion's confidence became weaker and weaker. Finally, they lowered their heads. "We have to split it into 2 batches. Gu Qianluo muttered to himself. He was delighted in his heart. Even the most arrogant experts had to obediently lower their heads. Who would have thought that this ancestor mother religion has so many treasures? There are some that even void gods are jealous of. Gu Qianluo was slightly startled. He originally did not treat the ancestor mother religion as anything. But when the war began, he had been spying on them in the dark, and his eyes immediately turned red. He discovered that some of the treasures of the ancestor mother religion were at the void god level. Some were even from other systems. They could have been plundered by the experts of the ancestor mother religion for their juniors. Currently, the strongest expert of the ancestor mother religion was equivalent to a ruler. Furthermore, he was slightly clumsy when it came to controlling the treasures. Thus, many of the formidable treasures could not be unleashed by much. If they were to land in my hands, I would have really profited. Gu Qianluo's eyes turned red. He felt an itch in his heart. Actually, This was because the cosmos of the ancestor mother religion had collapsed, causing many treasures hidden within the historical remains to be leaked out. That was why the religious leaders of the ancestor mother religion had so many treasures. But if they were not strong enough, these treasures would be a joke in their hands. Instead, it was Bloodblade who had 1 foot in the Void God realm. He had just obtained the Myriad Catalog, yet he was able to refine many arrays immediately. They were much more useful than many of the treasures of the ancestor mother religion. But in reality, many of the treasures of the ancestor mother religion were above the primal pillars. But the stronger the treasure, the higher the threshold to control it. For the sake of survival, I have to lower my head. Gu Qianluo thought, for the sake of so many treasures, it is worth it for me to act. He was the 7th sacred son under the ancestor bone throne, and his vision was much higher. By relying on the primal chaos flying ship, he could move unhindered across the primal chaos void and fight against void gods. In terms of survival and escaping, the primal chaos flying ship was much stronger. Even if he was heavily injured, he was still confident of dealing against a group of rulers with the help of the primal chaos flying ship. The green-skinned teenager became nervous after saying that. He was worried that Gu Qianluo would not agree to it. But this was the bottom line of the ancestor mother religion, because they were afraid that Gu Qianluo would leave after obtaining all the treasures without caring about their lives. Thus, they had to split the treasures into 2 batches. Furthermore, the most important treasures would be kept in the 2nd batch. They had to help them construct the ancestor mother altar and win the war before they could give the 2nd batch to Gu Qianluo. All right, religious leader Sang Dan, you should swear the oath. The moment Gu Qianluo finished speaking, the space in front of the green-skinned teenager suddenly fluctuated. A piece of leaf appeared in front of religious leader Sang Dan. On the leaf, there was a faint, illusory figure of a short and small creature. On it, there were many unknown words. These words transmitted information, allowing the green-skinned teenager to understand it completely. The green-skinned teenager was one of the younger religious leaders of the ancestor mother religion. He had entered the primal chaos flying ship during the early stages of the war. He extended his hand and lightly tapped on the leaf. A strand of soul aura descended on this leaf. It was immediately taken away by the leaf. And at this moment, the enormous sculpture of Gu Qianluo also sent a strand of soul aura onto the leaf. 1. On the leaf, the illusory figure of the short and small creature looked up. He glanced at Gu Qianluo before looking at the green-skinned teenager by the side. His mouth moved, but his voice directly resounded in the minds of Gu Qianluo and the green-skinned teenager. The oath is established. Those who violate it die. The green-skinned teenager could feel an unseen law. That was a very unique law of the oath. The moment he violated it, he would undoubtedly die. The power of the law was extremely strong. At least, he could feel that even if he was 100 or 1,000 times stronger, he would not be able to shake the law of the oath. Master, religious leader Sang Dan respectfully greeted. Very good. Gu Qianluo chuckled as he looked at his new servant. When I was roaming the primal chaos void, I had once chanced upon a set of arrays. This set of arrays is relatively formidable, and it should be easy for me to use it to protect your altar. We have a total of 6 altars. Religious leader Sang Dan said, the 6 altars will be spread across 6 different parts of the cosmos. Only then will the altar be formed. This set of arrays has a total of 9. Lending 6 of them to you temporarily is a small matter. Gu Qianluo was indifferent. He felt disdain towards a battle at this level. When he was roaming the primal chaos void, most of his enemies were void gods. Being the sacred son doted on by ancestor bone, his personal strength was top-notch even amongst rulers. Adding on various external materials, he could naturally fight against void gods at his peak. Many thanks, Master. Religious leader Sang Dan responded with joy. In a while, I'll destroy that primal time array and save you all. You all should immediately start constructing the altars. I'll help you defend them. The moment the 6 altars form the final ancestor mother altar, it will change the entire cosmos. Without the endless supply of world energy, they will be rejected by the cosmos. They will definitely lose, Gu Qian Luo casually said. And at this moment, in the starry sky outside the territory of the ancestor mother religion, the incarnation of the fanged religious leader was currently having a final discussion with Bloodblade. We no longer have any path of retreat. We can only hope that you cultivators will abide by your promise. The fanged religious leader lowered his head and said. Bloodblade nodded. I also hope that you all will obediently stay in your territory and not have any schemes. If you all were to deceive us, we'll definitely not give you all another chance. You can be rest assured. The fanged religious leader chuckled. Chapter 781. On the Primal Pillar. The white-robed Dongbua Shui Ying sat at the edge of the pillar. He looked down at the vast starry sky and the many huge shackles. He chuckled before drinking from a flask of wine. Junior disciple, Brother Dongbua, why are you drinking alone? Come, let me have a taste. A voice reverberated in his ears. Dongbua Shui Ying turned over. He saw his senior disciple, Brother Monarch Green, asking for wine from another primal pillar through the void. It's not a good wine, but I like it quite a bit. Here. Dongbua Shui Ying casually took another flask of wine and threw it over. Xiao. He directly penetrated through the void, traveling a great distance before appearing in front of Monarch Green. Oh, Monarch Green's eyes brightened. He was inwardly shocked at the formidable control his junior disciple brother had over the void. One had to know that he, Monarch Green, specialized in 3 Daos, and one of them was the Tao of Void. After receiving the flask, Monarch Green drank a mouthful. Amen, not bad. The taste might be light, but it leaves a lingering aftertaste. This is a good wine. Dongbua Shui Ying chuckled. He then casually chatted with his senior disciple, Brother Monarch Green, while drinking. The days of guarding the primal pillars were indeed lonely. Of the 12 primal pillars, Dongbua Shui Ying was guarding 2. As for Empress Qianhe, she had long left. She directly said, I can't help much here. Dongbua Shui Ying, I'll have to trouble you here. She then left with a smile. Hoo-hoo, the wind caused by the array stirred the surroundings. Dongbua Shui Ying's hair was blown upwards. He looked up, enjoying the tranquility. Suddenly, in this tranquility, a flying ship that was only 1,000 miles long appeared out of thin air. It appeared without a sound and looked very ordinary. It was much smaller than the wood mustache warship of the ancestor mother religion. 500 kilometers long, it was pitifully small in the starry sky. Any planet was much bigger than it. But on the nearest primal pillar, Primal Master's expression changed. Primal Chaos Flying Ship. Bloodblade, not good. The Chaos Flying Ship has suddenly appeared. Primal Master immediately sent a voice transmission. At the same time, he asked, Gu Qian Luo, what are you doing here? I'm just here to play. An evil voice rang out from the Primal Chaos Flying Ship. Immediately after, a purple arc of light shot out from the Primal Chaos Flying Ship. Almost instantly, it passed through the obstruction of space and bombarded the Primal Pillar. Boom! This Primal Pillar was originally incomparably tough and hard to be shaken. However, at this moment, under the impact of this unassuming purple arc of light, it was directly sent tumbling. The formless shockwave swept across Primal Master's body. Primal Master's expression suddenly changed, following which his body turned into powder and dissipated into nothingness. Just one strike. The Primordial Pillar's array formation was broken, and the clone of Primordial Master, who was in charge of guarding it, died in battle. The 12 elemental pillars that were refined using some coarse materials, their might is really ordinary. Within the Primal Chaos Flying Ship, the gigantic statue, Gu Qian Luo, had a sneer on his face. The myriad catalog was extremely famous. That terrifying existence that created the myriad catalog knew that his cultivation system was extremely complex and hard to cultivate. Instead, he took the initiative to disseminate the myriad catalog. It was relatively easy to obtain it. Therefore, Great Emperor Zhao Yun from the Devil Mountain Cosmos easily gave the original copy to Dongbua Shuang. If it was sufficiently precious, he would not have given it to him. And Guqian Luo was naturally more familiar with the 12 primal pillars. With the help of the primal chaos flying ship, it was much easier for him to break the array formation. All right, I've already broken the 12 primal pillars. It's your turn now. Guqian Luo looked down at religious leader Sangdan. Currently, he was heavily injured. Therefore, he would not act if he could. He only acted once for the sake of those treasures from the ancestor mother religion. If there was no need, he would not act again. Religious leader Sangdan's eyes were filled with excitement and fanaticism. This Guqian Luo was much stronger than what he expected. The side of the ancestor mother religion was filled with excitement and fanaticism. The side of the cultivators was both startled and furious. Guqian Luo, Bloodblade, was so furious that the corners of his eyes were about to crack. He looked at the distant primal chaos flying ship. Guqian Luo, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that he would interfere. Temporal Island Lord gritted his teeth. Damn, he actually interfered. Dongbua Shuang was similarly startled and furious. The strength displayed by Guqian Luo was indeed terrifying. By relying on the primal chaos flying ship, he was able to break the 12 primal pillar arrays. In terms of offensive power, he was much stronger than the ancestor mother religion. What made them furious was that Guqian Luo had previously said that mysterious North Imperial Empress who had chosen their side would help them. But now, he had fallen out with her just like that. Who? With the arrays broken, the seal on the territory of the ancestor mother religion was naturally gone. That ancient wooden mustache warship flew out from that huge spherical fort. As for the primal chaos flying ship, it tore through the void and arrived by the side of the wooden mustache warship. This is our first batch of gifts. Very good. Here are 6 arrays. I'll temporarily lend them to you. The ancestor mother religion and Guqian Luo rapidly traded. Guqian Luo did not allow the other religious leaders from the ancestor mother religion to enter. That religious leader Sangdan had sworn an oath with him and was his servant. But he could not be at ease with the other religious leaders. Who? The wooden mustache warship rapidly tore through the void and left. The primal chaos flying ship followed closely behind. Chase, Bloodblade, Dongbua Shuang, Monarch Green, and the rest relied on their senses of the void to chase after the ripples. It was especially so for Dongbua Shuang, who had an extremely acute control over the void. Currently, he could practically sense any space in the entire cosmos. There were only a few places that he could not sense. For instance, the core region of the Lake Heart Island historical remain. For instance, the starting ground was not something he could sense directly. With Guqian Luo helping us, let's hurry up and construct the Ancestor Mother altar. The religious leaders from the Ancestor Mother religion rapidly acted. After piercing through the void and arriving at one of the 6 locations in the cosmos, the wooden mustache warship stopped. The religious leaders immediately flew out. With a wave of their hands, a gray altar appeared. A thin old man began chanting in front of the altar, activating it. And the other 2 religious leaders took out one of the 6 arrays given to them by Guqian Luo and began constructing it. The primal chaos flying ship also appeared above them, protecting them. You fools, it's just constructing an array. Hurry up, Guqian Luo urged. So. Many figures appeared in the distant void. They were none other than Bloodblade, Monarch Green, Peng Yi, Purgatory Ruler, Dongbua Shuang, Primal Master, and others. Wang, following the activation of that gray altar, an unseen energy began transmitting outwards. It had almost instantaneously spread across the entire cosmos. Many gray altar illusions began appearing in many locations across the cosmos. This unseen energy began affecting the entire cosmos. Hong, the cosmos was trembling. and the world energy began surging and becoming chaotic. The Ancestor Mother altar is formed by 6 altars. Dongbua Shui Ying explained, this is the first altar. The moment the altar is formed, its power will spread across the entire cosmos. It will begin transforming the entire cosmos. The expressions of Bloodblade and the others turned ashen. They had also obtained the cultivation system of the Ancestor Mother religion sent over by Dongbua Shui Ying previously, and had gained some understanding of it. Move, Bloodblade ordered. At this moment, there was no need to say anything. Everything Gu Qianluo did indicated that he was completely standing on the side of the Ancestor Mother religion. Chapter 782. The black bird on the shoulder of the bloodshed god emperor suddenly became bigger, covering the entire sky. It was 1,000,000 times bigger than a planet. The figure of the bloodshed god emperor turned illusory, and 2 bodies appeared. These 2 bloodshed god emperors displayed the arrays at the same time. 2 huge arrays appeared on the wings of the blackbird 5th Uncle Master. One wing was filled with flames, and the other was filled with frost. Blackbird 5th Uncle Master flapped his wings, causing the energy of ice and fire to fuse together, releasing a horrifying destructive force that swept forward. Everywhere it passed, everything was destroyed. The combination of the 2 great avatars, the arrays and the blackbird, left others speechless. By the side, Dongbua Shui Ying felt startled. This was the first time he saw his teacher Bloodblade unleashing his full strength. Even though he had a true body and avatar, he was fighting for himself. On the side of his teacher Bloodblade, the 2 avatars were perfectly controlling the 2 arrays, allowing his power to explosively increase. Such a powerful ruler. Within the primal chaos flying ship, the enormous sculpture Gu Qianluo watched this scene from afar. His expression slightly changed, if not for the primal chaos flying ship. Even if I rely on other treasures, I might not be his opponent at my peak. This cosmos actually gave birth to such a terrifying ruler. This combat power should be sufficient for him to withstand a few moves from a void god. Gu Qianluo could not help but feel jealous. With his eyesight, he could see that Blackbird was a slightly unique life form, and was similarly at the ruler realm. With just a follower, he could unleash such power. If faced with Ancestor Bone, this Bloodblade was more qualified than him, Gu Qianluo, to become a sacred son. Naturally, it was because his position was in imminent danger that he decided to take the risk. Even though he was jealous, Gu Qianluo remained disdainful. In the end, he still hasn't walked out of this cosmos. Once I get the treasures from the Ancestor Mother religion, I'll conveniently eliminate him. Bloodblade was able to unleash an extremely powerful attack by himself, while Primal Master, Empress Qianhe, Monarch Green, Peng Yi, and the others were controlling a huge formation at the same time. Primal Master was in charge, and every time the formation attacked, a pitch-black crack would appear. It had a frightening attack power. Other than that, the Purgatory ruler, Dongbua Shui Ying, the Abyss Primogenitor, and the Temporal Island Lord fought their own battles. This was because there were too few suitable and powerful treasures for cultivators. Every time the Blackbird 5th Master Uncle flapped his wings, a terrifying destructive power would sweep out. Primal Master and the other 4 rulers controlled the array at the same time. They specialized in arrays too. Every strike they made would cause a crack to appear. They were trying to tear the Ancestor Mother religion apart. Even though Dongbua Shui Ying, Purgatory ruler, and the others were attacking, their offensive power was much weaker. Ultimately, they were still within the ruler realm and could not threaten the Ancestor Mother religion at all. The Ancestor Mother religion had a total of 3 layers of defense. The first layer was the wooden mustache warship located beneath the sacrificial pagoda. Large amounts of roots flew out and surrounded the sacrificial pagoda, protecting it. The second layer was the primal chaos flying ship located above the sacrificial pagoda. The third layer was the array that Gu Qianluo had previously given to the ancestor mother religion. Hong, 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 hua, hua, hua. The attacks of the cultivators were violent and ferocious, yet they could barely break through the obstruction of the large amount of roots. The primal chaos flying ship was able to withstand the remnant power of the attacks. I've overestimated them, and even lent 6 arrays to the ancestor mother religion. Within the primal chaos flying ship, Gu Qianluo could not help but shake his head with a sneer. That's right, the first 2 layers of protection were able to defend against the attacks. The arrays did not suffer from any impact at all. Quickly activated. The religious leaders were feeling anxious, and that thin old man was muttering to himself in front of the sacrificial pagoda. It was pointless to be anxious. The activation process had to be done step by step. As the thin old man gradually activated it, the energy of the sacrificial pagoda became more turbulent. It seemed to be able to sense a majestic existence far away. Ancestor Mother. A smile appeared on the skinny old man's face. He was like a baby in his mother's embrace. He could sense that boundless power. In front of this power, even though he was a sect master, he was like an ant in the starry sky. Hong, the sacrificial pagoda, suddenly erupted with an even greater energy. It began resonating with the other grayish sacrificial pagoda illusions. This resonance gradually formed a law and stabilized, and the surging of the world energy in the entire cultivator cosmos became more intense. Several transcendents in the deity world, material realm, and dark abyss were startled to discover that they could no longer absorb the world energy because it was too violent. It's almost done. The other religious leaders in the wooden mustache warship revealed a joyous look as they saw this. What should we do? What if we can't break it? Monarch Green revealed a strand of anxiety. That sacrificial pagoda is protected by that warship and the primal chaos flying ship. There's even a strange array protecting it. We can't even break through the protection of the primal chaos flying ship. Primal Master's expression was ugly. Bloodblade was anxious too. What should they do? The ancestor mother religion had to construct 6 sacrificial pagodas before they could successfully construct the ancestor mother altar. Thus, every single sacrificial pagoda required protection. There was only 1 wooden mustache warship and 1 primal chaos flying ship. This was also the reason why the ancestor mother religion did not construct any sacrificial pagodas previously, because they could not defend against it. But that strange array was something that Bloodblade was a great expert in the field of arrays. He could clearly see through. This array protecting the sacrificial pagoda is extremely mysterious and unique. Its defensive power is likely above that of the wooden mustache warship and the primal chaos flying ship. The true defense of the primal chaos flying ship was naturally heaven-defying. But Gu Qianluo was heavily injured, and he could only stop the primal chaos flying ship above the sacrificial pagoda, controlling the space beneath to provide a simple protection. This simple protection could not be compared to that protective array. Such an array has never appeared before. Furthermore, it is so mysterious and unique. It is entirely different from the system of the ancestor mother religion. It should be Gu Qianluo who brought it out. Bloodblade was anxious. Since he has acted, he should be confident of protecting all 6 sacrificial pagodas. What should we do? What should we do? The cultivators were completely helpless. In terms of foundation, they were weaker than the ancestor mother religion, much less Gu Qianluo. Ancestor mother? Dongboi Shui Ying looked at the first sacrificial pagoda from afar. Its power had already engulfed the entire cosmos. Many gray sacrificial pagoda illusions had appeared in many regions. With his perception of the void, he could naturally sense those gray sacrificial pagodas. Ancestor Mother is truly tyrannical. Once one cultivated the walker's hidden secret to the 11th level, one would be able to enter the primal chaos void and roam around at the ruler realm. And the inheritance left behind by Voidwalker Gucci had transmitted a large amount of information regarding the primal chaos void, including information regarding the sacred worlds. With the status of his teacher, Voidwalker Gucci, the amount of information he received was massive. The vast primal chaos void and the 5 great sacred worlds. There were also many terrifying existences. Forefather Tianyu, Lake Heart Island Swordmaster, Devil Mountain Primogenitor, and others. These were all existences who had reached the final realm of cultivation. Just like the Void Walker cultivation system, Walker's hidden secret, as long as one reached the 51st level, he would be considered to have stepped into the final realm of cultivation. That was an unfathomable level. Naturally, there were strong and weak existences at that level. For instance, the creator of the Void Walker was the one who created the complete Walker's hidden secret. He was both terrifying and powerful. Amongst the final realm existences, Ancestor Mother was an extremely tyrannical existence. This cultivation system only worshipped the Ancestor Mother and rejected all other systems. Everything revolved around the Ancestor Mother. The Ancestor Mother altar could even borrow the energy bestowed by the Ancestor Mother to change a cosmos, allowing other cosmoses to become the Ancestor Mother's cosmos. According to logic, such existences would be rejected by the other final realm existences. Nevertheless, the Ancestor Mother's status was stable, and that was because he was too powerful. I still have to use the black gourd. Dong Shuang flipped his hand and took out the black gourd. Dong Shuang, are you really going to use it? The treasure spirit transmitted. Let me remind you once again, you are currently a ruler. Using the second level of the black gourd's energy will harm the entire cosmos. If you go too crazy, you might even destroy the entire cosmos. I understand. I'll carefully control the range. Dongboi Shuang said. At the Paragon realm, the energy released by the Black Gourd was sufficient to force all rulers to retreat. And at the ruler realm, the energy released by the Black Gourd was no longer just ripples. Instead, it was more terrifying. It was sufficient to force even void gods at the origin birth realm to retreat. Ordinary void gods could not resist against it. One could see how terrifying and reckless this energy was. Only with such a powerful energy could it protect the void walkers at the ruler realm. Black Gourd? Guqian Luo and the religious leaders who were constantly paying attention to the cultivators within the primal chaos flying ship felt slightly disdainful. They had seen the power of the Black Gourd before. That black ripple was violent and reckless, and it had barely reached the void god level. It could not even be compared to the attack of the Bloodblade, and they still wanted to participate? Pa Dongbua Shueing unplugged the cork of the Black Gourd. Chapter 783. Sensing that mysterious and unfathomable void array within the Black Gourd, Dongbua Shueing began controlling it. After reaching the ruler realm, his soul had become stronger, allowing him to control the fireball within the Black Gourd that was comparable to the Sun Star. But Dongbua Shueing was still very careful, because he was clear that if he were to use this energy to destroy the cosmos, it would bring the end of this cosmos epic. Just like the mortal worlds within the material realm, if they were to be destroyed, they would be reborn even faster. The duration of every cosmos epoch was not exactly the same. The number of life forms reproduced, the number of rulers and void gods born, the absorption of world energy, the direct destruction of the cosmos, all sorts of factors determined the length of a cosmos epoch. The second level of the Black Gourd had the power to force ordinary void gods to retreat. Naturally, it could harm the cosmos. If Dongbua Shueing became a void god and controlled the third level of the Black Gourd, he would only need a single move to end a cosmos epoch. Actually, the power of a void god was sufficient to harm the cosmos. Thus, the 3 great emperors from the Devil Mountain cosmos would only spar within the primogenitor Devil Mountain. They would not act in other regions. Be careful and control the area. Dongbua Shueing thought, once we get rid of this altar, we will immediately stop. At this moment, the Ancestor Mother religion and Guqian Luo were more concerned about Bloodblade and the others. They did not place Dongbua Shueing in their eyes at all. In their opinion, that black gourd was quite useful against 2 or 3 rulers. But this was a war between races. The ancestor mother religion had used all their resources, and even Gucci and Luo was helping them. In this level of battle, the black gourd was not worth mentioning. Much less them, even Bloodblade, Monarch Green, Primal Master, and the others were shaking their heads inwardly. The power of the black gourd might be of some help to us, but it can't change the situation. But Dong Wuxuang was extremely careful. His soul could feel an incomparable pressure. This power had far surpassed his level. Fortunately, the black gourd had recognized him as its master. Otherwise, this terrifying power would be sufficient to injure his soul. Be destroyed, ancestor mother religion. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes were filled with a strand of sharpness. Ooh, dazzling. It was incomparably dazzling. This dazzling light caused both sides to unconsciously look over. Gucci and Luo, the religious leaders from the ancestor mother religion, and the rulers from the cultivator side were all looking at that black gourd in a daze. A beam of dazzling golden light flew out from the mouth of the black gourd. It flew out at high speed towards the first altar. The golden light that flew out at high speed seemed to be a kind of liquid. It was the most dazzling thing in the entire starry sky, even more dazzling than the sun. At the same time, the moment it appeared, the surrounding temperature skyrocketed, causing the void to distort and shatter. If sovereigns dared to touch this golden light, they would be instantly turned into ashes. Chi, the large number of roots of the wooden mustache worship that were protecting the altar collapsed under the impact of the surging golden liquid. They became soft and didn't have the slightest bit of power left. The primal chaos flying ship's control over the space below the altar was also broken in an instant. It couldn't even obstruct the slightest bit. Block it. The array protecting the altar was being controlled by the 2 religious leaders from the ancestor mother religion. They were all anxious since this defensive array was their final defense. Chi, the surging golden liquid light surged over like a surging wave. Its speed was extremely fast, and its power was extraordinary. That defensive array emitted a dazzling light, and the vein patterns on the violet array started trembling. Countless vein patterns started shattering, and in just half a breath of time, the defensive array had been completely shattered. The golden light had engulfed the 3 religious leaders, the 2 who controlled the array and the 1 who activated the altar. The first altar had also been engulfed by the golden light. The 3 religious leaders instantly turned into ashes. The wooden mustache warship and the primal chaos flying ship did not dare to get close. The surging and dazzling golden light engulfed the altar. It did not continue spreading outwards and was clearly restrained. Golden sun flames? This is the golden sun flames? Bloodblade, Primal Master, and the others were all shocked. They were all too familiar with it. The Sun Star was separated into 6 levels, and the 5th level, the Sun Abyss, contained this type of liquid flame, the golden sun flames. And deep within the Sun Abyss, there was the Sun Star core. That was the true core of the Sun Star. The power of the liquid golden sun flames within the Sun Abyss was too great. Rulers did not dare to get close to it, because they would feel death approaching them. Many predecessors from the epics like Lake Heart Island Sword Master and Ancestor Devil had left behind records that rulers who dared to touch the golden sun flames would instantly turn into ashes. Even void gods could not last too long under the influence of the golden sun flames. Dongbua Shui Ying held onto the black gourd. The density of the golden flame at the mouth of the gourd was the highest. It was being compressed and distorted. After charging out, it engulfed the distant altar. Split. Dongbua Shui sent out a thought. These dazzling golden flames formed a path. Dongbua Shui strolled through the void. Everywhere he passed, the golden flames would split apart. They obediently revolved around Dongbua Shui. Following along the path formed by the golden flames, Dongbua Shui walked towards the direction of the first altar. He extended his right hand, causing his palm to expand before grabbing onto the altar and pulling it out. Being a void walker, Ying directly tore apart the connection between the altar and the other grayish altar illusory figures within the cosmos before keeping it into his storage treasure. Regarding this, the ancestor mother religion and Gu Qianluo could only watch. They could not stop Dongbua Shuiying at all. We're finished. The religious leaders within the wooden mustache warship were all stunned. We're finished. The first altar has been snatched away. How can we refine a new one within a short period? Furthermore, there are 6 altars. How can we let the defenses of 6 altars withstand this terrifying golden flame? These religious leaders were completely stunned. The power of the Black Gourd had them in despair. The cultivators were incomparably shocked. A ruler could actually control the power of the golden sun flames. And on such a large scale, who could resist against it? This made Monarch Green, Primal Master, and the others happy and envious. At this moment, they understood that the Black Gourd was not as simple as they thought it to be. Instead, it was an unfathomable treasure. At the very least, it was much stronger than the treasures possessed by any ruler. No wonder he rose so quickly. His luck is too good. Temporal Island Lord thought. Even though they were from the same race, he could not help but feel envious. A brat who could not even join the Temporal Temple in the past had now made him, the Temporal Island Lord, jealous. But if not for Dongbua Shuiying's rapid and dazzling progress in the path of cultivation, he would not have passed the trials of the Void Walkers. Like Temporal Island Lord, he would not have passed the trials of the Void Walkers due to his poor comprehension ability and temperament. And within the primal chaos flying ship, the enormous sculpture, Gu Qianluo was feeling entirely different. He had a terrified expression on his face. A ruler who has yet to leave the cosmos actually has such a treasure? When he was a paragon, this Black Gourd could release a ripple attack that could resist against rulers. But now it could release this terrifying flame that could resist against ordinary void gods. Different levels correspond to different powers. Furthermore, there doesn't seem to be any backlash. Such a treasure is definitely a Tao protector treasure that a formidable existence intentionally refined for the sake of a junior. Gu Qianluo's horizons were broad. He was after all the 7th sacred sun, and only the first 3 sacred sons under the Ancestor Bone throne had obtained a protective treasure. He was not qualified to get it. I must get it. This protective treasure is much more valuable than the treasures of the Ancestor Mother religion. It should be even more valuable than this primal chaos flying ship of mine. Even though this protective treasure would only have an inheritor and others could not use it. But as long as I bring it back and ask my teacher, he would still be willing to refine it. Gu Qianluo felt his heart stirring. If his teacher had to painstakingly refine a protective treasure from scratch, he would definitely not be willing. However, it was a piece of cake for him to refine a complete protective treasure so that his disciple could use it. Snatch! I must snatch it! At this moment, Gu Qianluo was clear that the first altar of the Ancestor Mother religion was gone. Furthermore, it was impossible for all 6 altars to defend against that Black Gourd. Hence, he threw the Ancestor Mother religion to the back of his mind. He only had a single thought, and that was to think of ways to snatch the Black Gourd. The moment he snatched it, he would be able to spend some effort to help the Ancestor Mother religion. I must snatch it. Once I get it, I can return. Gu Qianluo had never thought that he would be so lucky to encounter a protective treasure in this cosmos. If it was purely releasing the golden flames, he would not have noticed it. After all, even though the golden flames were powerful, they were not as precious as the primal chaos flying ship. But previously, Dongbua Shuiying had used it once when he was at the Paragon realm. Different realms had different powers, and even his offensive techniques were different. This treasure would most likely allow him to unleash greater power when he became a void god. By then, there would be a qualitative change in its power. Dongbua Shuiying forcefully snatched the first altar. The other gray altar illusions dissipated, and the world energy in the cultivator cosmos gradually regained its calmness and gentleness. Pa! With a thought, Dongbua Shuiying severed the golden sun flame. At the same time, he stuffed it back. After all, the golden sun flame was too powerful and would harm the cosmos. Master, be careful. Be careful of Gu Qianluo. The treasure spirit immediately transmitted. An unseen ripple suddenly descended from the primal chaos flying ship. It was extremely fast and sinister. It was Gu Qianluo who was filled with killing intent. Gu Qianluo's eyes were filled with madness. He had to snatch the protective treasure. Chapter 784. Donghua Shui Ying was still worried that the golden flames from the Black Ord would harm the cosmos. Just as he plugged the cork, the treasure spirit immediately transmitted a warning. But it was too late. Gu Qianluo's sneak attack this time was to catch the other party off guard, and to be extremely fast. Not good. Donghua Shui Ying did not have the time to control the Black Ord. With a thought, he immediately hid into the mirage world, disappearing from the place. The current Donghua Shui Ying had reached large success in his Tao of Mirage, stepping into the ruler realm. The Tao of Mirage might be weak in terms of offense, but it had formed a world of its own and was extremely formidable in survival. Some rulers with weaker techniques might not even be able to find the true body of Donghua Shui Ying. Gu Qianluo's attack through the primal chaos flying ship had caused an unseen ripple to sweep across the location where Donghua Shui Ying was previously. At that moment, time-space distorted, and the figure of Donghua Shui Ying could be vaguely seen in another world. This ripple had also forcefully permeated into the complete mirage world, though its power had drastically decreased. Only 10% to 20% of its original strength was left. This attack directly invaded the body of Donghua Shui Ying. Nevertheless, his body was like the void, easily dissipating more than half of this attack. The remaining power merely caused the blood in his body to boil. His face turned red, yet he did not spurt out any blood. What? It actually failed to injure him. Gu Qianluo felt disbelief within the primal chaos flying ship. For the sake of catching the other party off guard and speed, even though this attack was slightly weaker, it had still reached the threshold of the Void God Realm. It was not any weaker than the attack executed by the two great avatars of Bloodblade and Blackbird Fifth Uncle Master. Such power could not even make Donghua Shui Ying spurt out blood. Such a life-saving ability was indeed very exaggerated. But he did not know. The body of a Void Walker was like the Void and could not be affected by any force. In addition, his body was already tyrannical. Even though he had just reached the 11th level of Walker's hidden secret, his body was already stronger than most religious leaders. Just by relying on his body, he could fight against apex rulers. Thus, it was hard to injure a Void Walker. At the same time, Donghua Shui Ying's Tao of Mirage was an extremely life-saving Tao in the laws of profound mystery system. It formed a mirage world of its own. Wanting to kill a Void Walker who was hiding in the mirage world was indeed too difficult. Gu Qianluo, Donghua Shui Ying, who was being attacked, looked at his opponent and immediately pulled out the stopper of the black gourd. Boom! Surging golden flames gushed out of the gourd and descended into the real world, charging directly at the chaos flying ship. Boom, boom, boom. The golden flames engulfed the primal chaos flying ship. However, the primal chaos flying ship remained unscathed. At this moment, Gu Qianluo was thinking about how to deal with Donghua Shui Ying. As for the golden flames, he was not afraid at all. What a joke. By relying on the primal chaos flying ship and other external items, he could fight against void gods at his peak. Even if he met with danger in the primal chaos void, he could rely on the primal chaos flying ship to resist against it. Even if the Cosmos Epic was destroyed, it could not damage the primal chaos flying ship at all, much less the primal chaos flying ship. Even that wooden mustache warship of the Ancestor Mother religion could not be damaged by the golden flames of the Black Gourd. Naturally, Gu Qianluo could only hide within the flying ship. The protectors of the Ancestor Mother religion could only hide within the warship and did not dare to come out. Damn. Donghua Shui Ying released the golden flames. Seeing that the primal chaos flying ship was unscathed, he could not help but grit his teeth and stop using the black gourd. He plugged back the stopper. These golden flames of yours are too berserk and destructive, to the point of harming your cosmos. I thought that you would continue to use them until the end of this cosmos epic. Guqian Luo's voice reverberated across the void, bringing with it a chilling intent. Master, don't worry. You can only use the black gourd for a short period of time. Furthermore, the area affected by the golden flames is relatively small. The damage it will cause to the cosmos is relatively low. The treasure spirit transmitted. Mn, Donghua Shuang grabbed the black gourd. He appeared from nothingness and stared coldly at the distant primal chaos flying ship. And Bloodblade, Monarch Green, Primal Master, Abyss Primogenitor, and the other rulers were furious. Bloodblade directly roared out, Guqian Luo, you chose mysterious North Imperial Empress in the past and promised to help us. But now, not only are you helping the Ancestor Mother religion, but we have already snatched their first altar, and you still dare to ambush Snow Eagle? Ha! I did choose that brat mysterious North Imperial Empress and swore an oath with her. But I did not violate the oath, right? She has always been in my primal chaos flying ship, and I have never harmed her. A voice transmitted from the primal chaos flying ship. As for my promise to help you, ha ha ha, you still believe in promises? What a joke. Bloodblade and the others were furious. Guqian Luo did not care about their promises at all with his strength and identity. He did not care about his reputation at all. Within the primal chaos flying ship, the enormous sculpture Guqian Luo was ridiculing them. At the same time, he was carefully observing Donghua Shuang, thinking of how to deal with him. He had never given up. That black gourd was a protective treasure. He did not care about the price he had to pay. Amen. Let's follow this plan and risk it all. Guqian Luo soon had a plan in his heart. Even though Donghua Shui Ying's figure had appeared, he was still within the mirage world. He was on high alert. Dong! A strange sound resounded from within his soul. However, Donghua Shui Ying's soul had fused with the complete Walker's hidden secret, allowing him to easily resist against it. But this caused Donghua Shui Ying's expression to change. He immediately pulled out the stopper of the black gourd, causing the golden flames to fly out once again. But this time, not a lot of them flew out. Instead, they revolve around the surface of Donghua Shui Ying's body, forming a golden sphere with Donghua Shui Ying standing at the center of this golden sphere. The damage dealt to the cosmos was determined by the amount of golden flames, as well as the area of effect. The greater the amount, the greater the area of effect, and the greater the damage. Just by forming a golden sphere around his body, a radius of 2 to 3 meters, the damage dealt was pitifully low. Huff, huff, huff. Donghua Shui Ying's cautiousness was not wrong. Other than the soul attack at the start, a strange wind followed closely behind. The wind appeared from nothingness. After passing through the mirage world, its might was greatly reduced. Then, it forcefully attacked the golden flames, causing it to be completely exhausted before it could penetrate through. This Guqian Luo, the Temporal Island Lord, Primal Master, Abyss Primogenitor, Monarch Green, Empress Qianhe, and the rest were greatly alarmed. They looked at the void around the primal chaos flying ship that was starting to appear one after another. Layers of strange attacks descended. There were 3 types of attacks that targeted the soul: sound, curse, etc. There were also some that targeted the physical body, and some that targeted the world. The array patterns appeared one after another before vanishing. Guqian Luo gritted his teeth. The gigantic statue was just his appearance. His real body was hidden within the primal chaos flying ship. He was currently sitting cross-legged and was crazily controlling the primal chaos flying ship to attack. His injuries were already rather severe. Therefore, the sudden burst of such a powerful attack was also very damaging to him. As long as I can obtain this black gourd, everything will be worth it. After obtaining it, I will immediately leave this cosmos. I will let Sangdan help me control the flying ship, and I will continue sleeping. Gu Qianluo had already made up his mind to continue sleeping. However, what was a protective treasure? What was a protective treasure? Attacking was secondary. The most important thing was protection. The berserk golden flames became extremely obedient under the control of the nothingness array. They formed into a perfect sphere that protected Dongbua Shui. The layers of flames combined beautifully. Everything was under the control of the nothingness array. The might of Gu Qianluo's desperate attacks was indeed terrifying. Some of them could only be slightly weakened by the Mirage World. However, the Golden Flame Sphere was able to completely resist them. As for other attacks that could penetrate, like soul attacks, they were completely useless against Dongbua Shuang. As for other attacks that could penetrate the Golden Flame Sphere, they were basically unable to injure Dongbua Shuang. I can't kill him. No. Gu Qianluo was about to go crazy. Under the Ancestor Bone throne, the sacred sons competed with each other. The weak were prey to the strong. Originally, he was at the bottom, which was why he disregarded everything and chose to roam the primal chaos void. Although he had experienced many dangers, this black gourd was the best treasure he could hope to obtain. Although he was worried that he couldn't kill Dongbua Shuang, he still wanted to give it a try. However, the result of his attempt made him even crazier. He wasn't willing to accept it. Amen? Bloodblade looked at the primal chaos flying ship from afar. He looked at the gigantic array diagram that appeared in the void around the flying ship. He was already extremely proficient in arrays. He was able to create the Void Twin Extreme Array. He was even able to create the 12 primal pillars with the strength of a ruler. Currently, he was seeing many mysterious arrays being activated in front of him. This was not something recorded in the Myriad catalog, but a true array being activated and operating. Bloodshed God Emperor could not help but be infatuated by it. His realm was close to that of these arrays, and he could see through many of them. Gradually, his expression turned blank. His mind was blown. That indistinct and blurry new world had finally unfolded in front of him. Chapter 785. At this moment, Dongbua Shuang was in the Mirage World. He was using the black gourd to release golden flames to surround his body. No matter how Gu Qianluo attacked, he could not be injured. Master, you can be rest assured. Gu Qianluo's injuries are severe. He has only recovered after sleeping for a few cosmos epochs. Previously, he had only helped the Ancestor Mother religion once. Now that he is continuously attacking you, it is highly possible that he has his eyes on the protective treasure, the Black Gourd. After all, Master has used it once and twice when you were at the Paragon Realm. Your offensive techniques are completely different, and their power has exceeded a major realm. This Gu Qianluo is a sacred son under Ancestor Bone, and his horizons are broad. You should have guessed that the Black Gourd is a protective treasure. That is why he is acting so crazily. The treasure spirit transmitted, but attacking so crazily will place a huge burden on his body. His injuries will worsen, and he won't be able to hold on for long. Amen. Dongbua Shui Ying understood. After reaching the 11th level of Walker's hidden secret, a large amount of information was transmitted into his mind. Various superpowers across the 5 great sacred worlds had cultivated to the final realm. Amongst them was Ancestor Bone. Ancestor Bone was an existence comparable to Forefather Tian Yu and Lake Heart Island Swordmaster. He had reached the final realm of cultivation. No. This Black Gourd is mine. I must obtain it. Gu Qianluo felt a tearing pain in his soul. His expression turned pale. His blood-colored eyes stared at Dongbua Shuang. Why is a brat who has yet to leave the cosmos able to obtain a protective treasure, but I don't? Just as he was going crazy, he suddenly turned toward another direction. That was the direction where the Bloodblade was located. Gu Qianluo's attention was focused on Dongbua Shuang. He did not care about the other rulers. However, the primal chaos flying ship had enveloped the surrounding void and could still sense the unique movement from the Bloodblade. That is Guqian Luo's expression changed. Another blood blade appeared in the void. This was the body that was originally on the island. This scene caused Dongbua Shui Ying, Monarch Green, Primal Master, Abyss Primogenitor, and the others to be shocked. Because from the start of the war until now, not a single ruler had entered the battlefield with all their bodies. This rule was set by Bloodblade. But now, all three of Bloodblade's bodies were here. Buzz! The three Bloodblades smiled at each other. At the same time, their bodies merged together to form a single Bloodblade in dark red robes. The Bloodblade was the only one in the entire universe. Boom! A terrifying ripple was emitted from the Bloodblade's body, causing the surrounding void to turn dark. Dark clouds were rolling within, and countless veined patterns were revolving. Many enormous arrays covered the surrounding starry sky, and that vast and heart-palpitating power caused everyone present to turn sluggish. As far as one's eyes could see, the surrounding void had turned dark. This region had most likely exceeded 50 billion kilometers. Dongbua Shui Ying had a formidable control over the void, and he knew that the endless gloom domain released by his teacher had covered a terrifying region approximately the size of a starfield. Void God. Dongbua Shui Ying completely understood. Void God, Primal Master, Abyss Primogenitor, Peng, Monarch Green, Purgatory Ruler, and the others also understood. Seeing this power that far surpassed that of a ruler, everyone understood. Bloodblade has finally taken this step. I knew that this day would come, though who would have thought that he would break through at this moment? Primal Master revealed a grin. Void God, our cosmos epic has finally given birth to a void god. Abyss Primogenitor sighed. Temporal Island Lord was watching silently. He was originally an extremely arrogant person, and was not willing to admit defeat in front of the Bloodshed God Emperor. But at this moment, he understood that the gap between them was too big. The Bloodshed God Emperor had already stepped into another level. Deity, world deity, true God, void God. From true God to void God. This was a huge leap in realm, and the difficulty was high. We still have a long time in this epic. Peng, he revealed a grin after seeing this. Bloodblade has already become a void god. By the end of this epic, Bloodblade should be able to reach the height of Ancestor Devil. He dared not hope for reaching the height of Lake Hard Island Master, but it was still possible for him to reach the height of Ancestor Devil. Even though the cultivators and rulers present were shocked and had some other emotions, they were happy too, because this epic had given birth to a void god. Even if this epic was destroyed, the void god could still bring them to roam the primal chaos void and continue living, or even to a wider world. What void god? He broke through to the void god realm? Guqian Luo was greatly startled. At his peak, he could fight against void gods with the help of the primal chaos flying ship. But now, he had to deal with Dongbua Shui Ying, causing him to be heavily injured. It was impossible for him to fight for a long time. Guqian Luo. Bloodblade's voice reverberated across the endless void. His eyes were filled with coldness as he looked at the distant primal chaos flying ship. Hong Long Long, two enormous arrays appeared above and below the primal chaos flying ship. One array was made of dark flames, and the other was made of white frost. The two great arrays were revolving, and completely opposite forces were acting on the primal chaos flying ship. It was as if the primal chaos flying ship was being locked down. Bloodshed God Emperor knew that it was hard to break through the arrays, so he decided to imprison the other party first. He has just become a void god, yet he is so strong. Guqian Luo could feel the might the primal chaos flying ship was facing. His expression could not help but change. He did not know. Bloodblade cultivated two great systems. One was the laws and profound mystery system, and the other was the hex system. He specialized in arrays and refining weapons. The laws and profound mysteries system focused on the essence and grasped the laws. The hex system was the opposite. It focused on researching the myriad existences. Dongbua Shui also felt that the hex system was not any weaker than the laws and profound mystery system. It was also extremely complex and powerful. This time, Bloodblade had broken through the hex system. In terms of combat power, he was much stronger than some of the simpler systems like the Ancestor Mother religion. If he were to break through in the laws and profound mystery system in the future, he would be even more terrifying when he fused the two systems together. Hurry up and leave. I can't fight for long. Guqian Luo did not dare to stay any longer. Wah! The primal chaos flying ship suddenly turned translucent. With a so, it flew towards the distance. Furthermore, the distant void began tearing apart. Layers of membrane walls were torn apart, as if a curtain had been pulled apart, revealing the vast and icy primal chaos void outside. The chaotic void seemed to be empty, but it contained an extremely powerful destructive power. You want to leave? Bloodblade and the others understood what was happening. This primal chaos flying ship is too formidable. I can't stop it even though I have just broken through. Bloodblade understood this point too, and within the Ancestor Mother religion's wooden mustache war ship, the group of religious leaders were looking at this scene in complete despair. Previously, when Dongbua Shui used the black gourd to snatch away the first altar, they were already in a daze. When Bloodblade became a void god, it made them feel even more despair. If it was just the altar being snatched away, they could still refine it again. But the birth of a void god determined that they were doomed. Nevertheless, they still held onto a strand of hope that Guqian Luo would save them. But at this moment, Guqian Luo was ignoring them. Master, please bring my clansmen away. I'll give you all their treasures. Religious leader Sang Dan looked at the enormous sculpture in front of him and begged Guqian Luo. My injuries are serious. I can't stay any longer. Guqian Luo coldly said. At this moment, his injuries were serious. His soul was being torn apart. He could not help but fall into a deep sleep. He could only grit his teeth and endure. He did not have the mood to waste it on the Ancestor Mother religion. Those treasures of the Ancestor Mother religion, according to what he knew, they were still hidden in that castle. He did not have any time to waste. Furthermore, he was afraid that Bloodblade might have some methods to deal against his soul. The primal chaos flying ship could not defend against soul attacks. In the past, his soul defenses were relatively strong, but now his soul had become his greatest weakness. His injuries were too serious, and he was about to fall into a deep sleep. The moment he suffered another injury, he would most likely be finished. For the sake of his life, why would he care about the Ancestor Mother religion? I won't be able to obtain anything. My injuries will only worsen. Cultivator Cosmos, all of you can forget about having an easy time. Just as the primal chaos flying ship was about to fly out of the passage, suddenly, shio, a total of 9 streams of light flew out of the primal chaos flying ship in different directions. Every stream of light brought with it an incomparably terrifying power. Have a good taste of these 9 little toys of mine. If you are slightly careless, your epic will be gone. Guqian Luo's eyes were filled with madness. He had suffered a huge loss and would not let the cultivators have an easy time. Dongbua Shui and Bloodblade watched as the primal chaos flying ship escaped. They could not stop it at all. Suddenly, 9 streams of light flew out from the primal chaos flying ship in different directions. This is, with Dongbua Shui Ying's perception towards the void, he could easily sense every single stream of light. These 9 streams of light were in fact 9 black spheres. Each of them contained an extremely terrifying power within them. They weren't as pure as the golden sun flames, but they were more berserk and chaotic. At this moment, these powers weren't stable, and it seemed as though they could explode at any moment. This power is even more berserk than the golden sun flames. The moment it explodes, the damage it would cause to the cosmos is simply unimaginable. Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed. Bloodblade's perception was even more acute. At his level, his perception toward the origin of the entire cosmos was extremely acute. He could faintly judge that if these 9 spheres were to explode, it would be enough to destroy this cosmos epic. This caused Bloodblade to feel fear and anger. He was angry at Gu Qianluo's brutality. Snow Eagle, use the black ore to release the golden sun flames to envelop them. Do your best to weaken their power. Otherwise, our epic will be finished. Bloodblade also did not have any confidence. At this moment, he could only go all out. He started to activate the array to weaken them. As for Pang, Yi, Monarch Green, Abyss, Primager, Primal Master, Empress Qin, he and the rest, they looked at the 9 streams of light. Their perception was getting blurry. They only had one feeling. It was fear. Fear that came from the depths of their hearts. Fear of despair. Otherwise, this epic will be finished. When Dongbua Shui Ying heard his master's transmission, his heart trembled. His wife was only a stage 4-world deity, and his children were even weaker. No, Dongbua Shui Ying could no longer care about his hatred and killing intent towards Gu Qianluo. He frantically pulled out the cork of the black gourd. Chapter 786. Bloodblade was incomparably anxious. He was absolutely not willing for his hometown to be destroyed just like that. As for Shuang, he had gone mad. Because the cosmos epic was ending, his parents, wife, children, and disciples would all die along with the cosmos epic. He would rather die than for his loved ones to die. If he was the only one left in this world, what was the point of cultivating to a formidable level? No, Dongbua Shuang was so furious that his eyes were about to pop out. Primal Master, Peng Yi, Monarch Green, and the others could not stop this at all. They could only watch as everything unfolded. Ha ha! Even if we die in battle, we'll make this cosmos epic perish together with us. The religious leaders within the wooden mustache warship were originally in despair. When they saw the 9 streams of light, they could sense the terrifying destructive power contained within them, causing them to turn slightly mad. Come, let's have a great apocalypse, and let everything perish in the great apocalypse. In the tranquil starting ground, there were red flowers and green willows. The grasses were gently swaying along with the wind. A skinny black wild dog was currently lying within the grasses, allowing the wind to blow on its fur. Its tail was even swinging back and forth. Truly useless. You've lost the face of your master. The black wild dog snorted before disappearing. Dongbua Shui Ying was currently releasing the golden light of the black gourd amidst his anxiety and madness. Bloodblade was also doing his best to control the array. The others were watching, with Gu Qianluo, who was currently flying into the cosmos membrane tear, looking back with a sneer. Right at this moment, an incomparably huge black dog head appeared in the void. It was so big that Dongbua Shui Ying and the others could only vaguely see it with their realms. This huge black dog head seemed to be in another world. It was clearly overlapping with the rulers like Pang, Yi, and Monarch Green, as well as the wooden mustache warship of the ancestor mother religion, yet did not clash. The huge black dog head opened its bloody mouth. Within its mouth was a primal chaos maelstrom. Its mouth was so big that one could not see its edge. It had already enveloped the 9 streams of light flying in different directions. Following that, this huge dog head abruptly sucked, causing the primal chaos flying ship that had already flown out of the cosmos membrane tear to fly back into the mouth of that huge dog head filled with primal chaos maelstrom. Since you dared to disobey me, you have to pay the price. Gu Qianluo was originally sneering with killing intent, but closely following that, he was stunned. An enormous black wild dog appeared. It was too big. Fortunately, the primal chaos flying ship could sense an extremely wide region. Thus, by relying on the primal chaos flying ship, Gu Qianluo was able to discern that this was an extremely skinny black wild dog. Its body was incomparably huge, and just a single tail could penetrate through several dozen starfields. The length of its body was almost equivalent to a third of the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace. When it opened its mouth, it could envelop several starfields. There was even a primal chaos maelstrom within its mouth that engulfed the 9 streams of light. Quick, 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 quick! Guqian Luo turned mad. His soul was trembling. He knew that this was the most dangerous time he had ever been in his entire life. He did not care about the soul-tearing pain as he controlled the primal chaos flying ship, trying his best to escape. The speed of the primal chaos flying ship had also increased to its limit. The primal chaos flying ship had already charged out of the cosmos membrane tear, arriving in the primal chaos void outside. But within the cosmos, that enormous black wild dog's cold eyes were looking at this tiny black flying ship. Its enormous mouth merely sucked in a breath. A terrifying swallowing force immediately acted on the primal chaos flying ship. This force was too huge, causing the primal chaos flying ship to fly back with his soul, flying directly into the primal chaos maelstrom within the mouth of the wild dog. No. Seeing the primal chaos flying ship flying in, Guqian Luo's eyes were filled with despair. How could this be? How could this be? After being swallowed by the wild black dog, following that, a terrifying ripple engulfed the primal chaos flying ship, directly permeating into it. Guqian Luo's concealed body was also affected by this ripple. He felt his soul trembling before losing his consciousness and fainting. Even religious leader Sang Dan and mysterious North Imperial Empress within the primal chaos flying ship fainted. Dongbua Shui Ying, Bloodblade, Monarch Green, Temporal Island Lord, and others were all looking at this scene in a daze. The religious leaders within the ancestor mother religion's wooden mustache warship were also watching in a daze. The originally boundless wild black dog instantly shrunk to a size of only a few hundred miles. The wild black dog was very skinny, so skinny that one could even see that it was just skin and bones. It stood in the void, one of its tails swinging as it spoke in a human language. Roar, this is too embarrassing, a disgrace to my master. He was clearly about to win, yet he was tricked by Guqian Luo. Senior, Bloodblade, took the initiative to speak. At this moment, he was still puzzled. Where did this terrifying wild black dog come from? According to the intelligence he received, once one stepped into the void god realm, one could not enter other cosmos because the cosmos protected all beings within it. Existences that were too strong were forbidden from entering. Naturally, if one was too strong, like Voidwalker Guqi, he was so strong that he was comparable to Forefather Tianyu. He could easily destroy a cosmos, and the cosmos could not stop him. Hence, he could easily enter. Causing the destruction of a cosmos epic and destroying a cosmos were two completely different levels. Within a cosmos, many epics would cycle continuously. The moment the internal environment was destroyed and was no longer suitable for cultivation, the cosmos would naturally destroy the epic before giving birth to a new environment suitable for cultivation. The cycle of epics was also a part of the operation of a cosmos. The cosmos itself was very stable and powerful, but the strength of this wild black dog had completely surpassed a new void god like him. Furthermore, it was within a cosmos. Many thanks, Senior. Dongbua Shui Ying and Temporal Island Lord expressed their gratitude one after another. The two of them were acquainted with the wild black dog. I've met Senior before, but who would have thought that Senior is so formidable? Temporal Island Lord said. Emin, the wild black dog acknowledged with slight arrogance. He then turned to Dongbua Shui Ying and Bloodblade before praising. Bloodblade, not bad. It is still early in this cosmos epic, yet you have become a void god. You are currently at the void god origin birth realm, and by the end of this epic, you should have hopes of reaching the unity realm. The only one who has reached the void unity realm in this cosmos is Ancestor Devil. Swordmaster is on a higher level. Many thanks for your praise, Senior. Bloodblade felt even more bewildered. It seemed that this wild black dog was familiar with every expert in his cosmos epic. He was familiar with Lake Heart Island Master and Ancestor Devil. Dongbua. The wild black dog looked at Dongbua, swaying before glancing at the black gourd in his hand. Who would have thought that as a disciple of my great void heaven temple, you have cultivated for such a short period, yet you have another powerful inheritance? Void Walker Gucci's techniques were too profound. The wild black dog did not discover it. As for the black gourd, it did not think that the black gourd was formidable in the past. Only this time, it could see that it was a protective treasure. For the other party to refine such a protective treasure and allow Dongbua Shuang to use it when he was at the opening realm, it was absolutely an amazing existence. Even if he could not defeat Forefather Tianyu, he should be close to it. It's just luck, Dongbua Shuang said. He felt both delighted and shocked in his heart. Previously, he knew that the wild black dog had once bitten off a piece of meat from Lake Hard Island Swordmaster. He only felt that it was powerful, but he did not know how powerful it was. This time he was truly frightened. However, after thinking about it carefully, it made sense. After all, Lake Hard Island Swordmaster was only a step away from Forefather Tianyu. For the wild black dog to be able to injure him, its strength should be close to that of Swordmaster. It might even be stronger than Ancestor Devil. That's right, there's still this fool. The wild black dog spat out 3 beams of light. One of the beams of light was caught by its claw. It was the unconscious Gu Qianluo. The other 2 beams of light were the unconscious mysterious North Imperial Empress and Sect Master Sangdan. Wake up! The wild black dog grabbed onto Gu Qianluo's paw and shook it. Gu Qianluo's body trembled as he started to wake up. The moment he opened his eyes, he saw a huge wild black dog standing in the void in front of him. He was so scared that his face turned deathly pale. Chapter 787. Spare me. Senior, spare me. Spare me. Gu Qianluo didn't even have the slightest thought of resisting as he started to beg for mercy. Although he was terrified, he still had hope. From his point of view, if Gu Qianluo wanted to kill him, he would have already done so. It was also possible that Gu Qianluo knew of his master, Ancestor Bone. Ancestor Bone was after all an existence that had cultivated to the pinnacle. His influence and status were extremely high. This wild black dog in front of him should be afraid of his master. Spare me. The wild black dog grabbed Gu Qianluo with its claws and looked at him. Oh, you fool. I can treat you as if you don't exist even after sleeping for a few eras in this cosmos. It's fine if you escaped after fighting with bloodshed and the rest. But you actually wanted to destroy the cosmos created by my master and destroy this cosmos, epic? You are really courting death. Gu Qianluo was alarmed when he heard this. However, he was puzzled and could not help but ask, Senior, your master created this cosmos? Let alone Gu Qianluo, even the rulers present like Pang Yi, Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Master, Abyss Primogenitor, and Empress Qian, he revealed shocked expressions. Upon seeing this, Dongbua Shui Ying sighed inwardly. It seemed that very few people knew that Ancestor Tian, you created this cosmos. He only knew about this when he met Void Walker Gucci. Even when he first entered the starting ground, he thought that the master of the starting ground was a mysterious expert. He did not know that the other party was the creator of this cosmos. After he passed the opening realm test and entered the straw hut, he saw Ancestor Tian Yu's image. Only then did Ancestor Tian Yu said that he was the creator of this cosmos. There were very few who knew that Ancestor Tian Yu created this cosmos. The wild black dog and the white-haired old man knew about it, but they did not say anything. Void Walker Gucci also knew about it, but he only told him his successor. Lake Hard Island Swordmaster and a few others who passed the opening realm test probably knew about it too. However, they would not easily tell their juniors about this secret. If they were weak, there was no point in knowing about it. Dongbua Shuang looked around. My master and Yuanshu master seem to know about this. Bloodblade looked at Dongbua Shuang and smiled. Snow Eagle, I didn't expect you to become a disciple of the Great Void Heaven Temple. Bloodblade knew that this cosmos was created by Forefather Tianyu. But the Great Void Heaven Temple was only created after he became a void god. Information was transmitted directly into his mind from the cosmos, of which there are large amounts of information regarding the Great Void Heaven Temple and the 5 great sacred worlds. There is also a map leading to the 7-star oceanic sacred world. In the starting ground, one has to pass the opening realm test to become a disciple of the Great Void Heaven Temple. Donghua Shui transmitted his voice. Patriarch is the patriarch of our universe. Naturally, we are also members of the Great Void Heaven Temple. Bloodblade nodded. They were in a relaxed mood. Guqian Luo was horrified. Master, how could an existence at this level be willing to be a servant? Furthermore, why would he stay in the cosmos for a long period? Isn't this equivalent to being imprisoned in a prison? He was clear of the strength of the wild black dog in front of him. It could absolutely be a forefather in the outside world. Only existences who had reached the final realm of cultivation were qualified to make them lower their heads. Even so, experts had their own pride. Reaching this level, there were few who were willing to be a servant. Even if there were eccentrics who were willing to be a servant with such terrifying strength, most of them would have more desires. It was impossible for them to protect the cosmos for a long period. How could there be any experts who were too powerful within the cosmos? They would not be able to temper their strength at all. Staying here was equivalent to being imprisoned. Hence, there was only one explanation. This wild black dog isn't a true life form. It should be a puppet refined by someone. Guqian Luo thought. Because it wasn't a true life form, it would absolutely obey the orders of its master. But Guqian Luo became even more horrified as he thought about this. The number of existences who could refine such a terrifying puppet could be counted with one's fingers. After all, not everyone specialized in refining puppets. For instance, Forefather Tian Yu. He was an existence who had reached the final realm of the laws and profound mystery system. He could also be good at refining puppets. For instance, the Ancestor Mother Religion system and the Void Walker system, they were much weaker in terms of refining. Refining a puppet that is close to the void, primal chaos realm is much harder than creating a cosmos. Paying such a huge price to refine such a puppet, yet it was thrown into a cosmos? Guqian Luo felt that he was going crazy. Entering a cosmos. This cosmos was actually created. Forget it. There was actually a terrifying puppet that was refined in this cosmos. How could the existence that created this cosmos be willing to do so? Guqian Luo could not believe it. If his teacher Ancestor Bone had such a powerful subordinate, he would definitely bring him along with him. Many matters could be arranged for such a subordinate to handle, because such a subordinate would be absolutely loyal and sufficiently powerful. But Forefather Tian, you had thrown this wild black dog here. You could have chosen not to die, yet you are seeking death. Naturally, I have to fulfill your wish. Bloodblade, Donghua, the few of you fellows don't have any objections, right? If not, I'll eat him up. The wild black dog looked towards Donghua, Shui, Ying, and the rest. Donghua, Shui, Ying, Bloodblade, and the rest shook their heads. No objections. All of them wanted to kill Guqian Luo as soon as possible. Eat me up? Guqian Luo was startled awake from his thoughts. Looking at the wild black dog in front of him, he immediately begged, Senior, spare me, spare my life. Ho ho, the wild black dog roared twice. It deliberately bared its teeth, revealing its snow-white teeth. Saying that, it grabbed Guqian Luo with its claws and slowly stuffed him into its mouth. Seeing this, Guqian Luo became anxious. I am a disciple under Ancestor Bone. I am the 7th sacred son. You cannot kill me. If you kill me, Ancestor Bone will never let you off. Ancestor Bone? The wild black dog stopped. It curled its lips. Why will my great void heaven temple be afraid of an old skeleton like him? If he has the capabilities, let him fight with my master. Existences that cultivated to the pinnacle would have different levels of strength. Forefather Tian Yu was a terrifying existence. Ancestor Bone? Indeed, Forefather Tian, you did not care. Umph. In the distance, Dong Shuang shook his head inwardly. Forefather Tian, you did not care about Ancestor Bone. Now, his great void heaven temple had two existences, Forefather Tian Yu and Lake Heart Island's Swordmaster. How could a mere Ancestor Bone compare to the power and prosperity of their current forces? Furthermore, Forefather Tian Yu was famous for being protective. It was precisely because he was too protective and concerned about his juniors. Therefore, he did not hesitate to refine a wild black dog to protect the universe he created. Guqian Luo also knew about the reputation of the Great Void Heaven Temple. He could not help but become anxious. If you want to kill me, why don't you just kill me directly? You even capture me alive, and now you want to kill me? I captured you alive so that I can scold you and let you die in despair and fear. The wild black dog bared its white teeth. Guqian Luo was stunned. He captured him alive just to scold him, to make him feel even more fear. This die. The wild black dog was still slowly grabbing onto Guqian Luo. Guqian Luo frantically struggled, but an invisible force enveloped him. He was basically unable to resist and could only watch in despair as the giant mouth got closer and closer. Guqian Luo was directly thrown into the mouth. The enormous wild black dog swallowed him with two kacha sounds. He then looked towards Bloodblade, Dongbua Shuang, and the rest. Dongbua Shuang and the rest were also somewhat speechless. This wild black dog senior was truly lively. He intentionally reprimanded his enemies before killing them. Why are all of you looking at me? The wild black dog stared. Could it be that you still want that primal chaos flying ship? The eyes of Bloodblade, Dongbua Shuang, Ping, Monarch Green, and the rest lit up. The wild black dog was so powerful that the primal chaos flying ship was useless. However, it was still very attractive to them. Don't even think about it. The wild black dog sneered. Master said that one has to rely on oneself in the path of cultivation. There's no such thing as reaping without sowing. This Guqian Luo was killed by me, and the primal chaos flying ship was snatched by me. Of course it belongs to me. Dongbua Shuang and the rest were speechless. You are so powerful. What use do you have for a primal chaos flying ship? The flying ship naturally belongs to Senior. Bloodblade chuckled. Who would have thought that our cosmos would still have a senior protecting it? If we had known, we wouldn't have fought so crazily in this war. If not for Guqian Luo wanting to destroy this cosmos epic, I wouldn't have acted so easily. The wild black dog snorted. Master said that one has to rely on oneself in cultivation. The war with the ancestor mother religion is also a form of tempering for you all. You all died because you are not strong enough. Unless their ancestor mother religion is about to establish a sacrificial altar to change the cosmos, only then will I act. The ancestor mother religion is indeed tyrannical. Fortunately, my master is formidable and left behind a backup plan. She must be dreaming if she wants to turn the cosmos created by master into their ancestor mother religion cosmos. The wild black dog sneered. In reality, not many existences who cultivated to the final realm would leave behind a terrifying puppet that was 10 times more precious than the cosmos. Properly cultivate. The wild black dog swept his gaze across Bloodblade, Dongbua, Shuang, and the others. You all have protection within the cosmos, but it's much more dangerous outside. Oh, right. Do you want me to help you deal with that ancestor mother religion warship? The wild black dog's gaze landed on that wooden mustache warship. His eyes had a strand of light. He loved collecting. No need. Bloodblade said, I'll spend some time to deal with it. Oh, the wild black dog acknowledged. He then turned around unhurriedly. With a step, his figure turned illusory and disappeared without a trace. Only then did Bloodblade let out a sigh of relief. He still wanted to get the treasures of the ancestor mother religion. The wild black dog's actions would all end up in his hands. Bloodblade, that religious leader from the ancestor mother religion, Abyss primogenitor, pointed at the unconscious religious leader saying Dan in the distant void. Exterminate him. Bloodblade was indifferent. He then turned his gaze to the distant wooden mustache warship. Fellow Taoists, I only have a single body now. Thus, I'll have to trouble you all to evacuate the clansmen from the Lake Heart Island historical remain. Bloodblade laughed. The war has ended. Amen. Donghua Shui Ying and the others revealed a grin. That's right. It was time for them to evacuate. But after this battle, and looking at seniors, we are still weak. Bloodblade said, after the war, all of you should properly cultivate. Our Cosmos epic might not necessarily be weaker than the third Cosmos epic. Monarch Green, Purgatory Ruler, Peng Yi, Primal Master, Temporal Island Lord, and the others were all filled with fighting spirit. They had been stimulated by Donghua Shui Ying's combat power, Bloodblade's breakthrough, the crisis of the Cosmos epic apocalypse, the strength of the wild black dog. All these stimulations made them want to become stronger. Chapter 788. In the depths of the Lake Heart Island, Peng Yi, Monarch Green, Purgatory Ruler, Temporal Island Lord, Abyss Primogenitor, Empress Qianhe, Myriad God Palace Head, and Primal Master were all present. Among them, Peng Yi picked up the Eden treasure and smiled. Everyone, let's head out. Brother Peng Yi, wait up. A voice rang out. The white-robed Donghua Shui Ying appeared out of nowhere. He was a member of the Army of Destruction and was able to teleport in from the outside world. Donghua, you even rushed over for such a small matter? The rulers were all laughing. In the world of cultivators, the strong were respected. Shui Ying's display of terrifying combat power had naturally earned him the respect of everyone. Furthermore, everyone vaguely understood that with such a fast cultivation speed, if there was anyone in this Cosmos epic who could catch up to the Bloodshed God Emperor, it would most likely be Shui Ying. There's a small matter that I have to trouble all of you with. Release Old Ancestor Black Devil from the Eden Treasure. Donghua Shui Ying spoke, after which he turned to the Temporal Island Lord. Temporal Island Lord, please forgive me. I have to take revenge for my master. The Temporal Island Lord frowned as his expression turned ugly. No matter what, Old Ancestor Black Devil was his subordinate. Now that Donghua Shui Ying clearly wanted to kill Old Ancestor Black Devil in the name of taking revenge for his master, the Temporal Island Lord was infuriated. He also understood that whether or not he wanted to release Old Ancestor Black Devil depended on Bloodblade. This was because the Eden treasure belonged to Bloodblade. He wouldn't be able to stop Bloodblade, even if he wanted to. Humph, the Temporal Island Lord snorted coldly. An esteemed ruler killing a powerful existence? Isn't that too much of a bully? I've said it before. I have to take revenge for my master. Donghua Shui Ying's voice turned cold. He had already given the Temporal Island Lord a lot of face by taking the initiative to say it. Would the Temporal Island Lord be able to stop him? Humph. The Temporal Island Lord laughed coldly. Indeed, He Jemendongbo's power is higher than mine. Within the ruins of Lake Heart Island, you and Peng, he won't be obstructed at all. I won't be able to protect him, but do you really think you can kill him? One of his clones isn't in this universe. Donghua Shui Ying sneered. He had discovered it long ago. In the entire universe, only a single body of Patriarch Black Fiend could be found through karma. The other doppelganger couldn't be found at all. It was either hiding in the starting ground or some similar place. Either that, or they had gone to other universes. Oh, there was also the possibility that he didn't have an avatar. It would be a joke if Old Ancestor Black Devil didn't cultivate an avatar to save his life. If he didn't cultivate an avatar, he would still die if his true body was killed. That's right. His other avatar is indeed in another cosmos and has yet to return. The Temporal Island Lord sneered. Does Ruler Dongbo still have the confidence to kill him? Peng Yi laughed. With a thought, Old Ancestor Black Devil directly appeared beside him. This was because the moment Donghua Shui Ying arrived, he had already borrowed the power of his law domain to forcefully isolate all karmic transmissions. Within his own law domain, he could create his own laws and his words would be absolute. The other rulers could also use their law domains to resist. However, everyone understood what Dongbua Shuang wanted. There was no need for them to go against Dongbua Shui Ying at this moment. The Temporal Island Lord had no way to warn Old Ancestor Black Devil. Island Lord. Old Ancestor Black Devil glanced at the Temporal Island Lord. After that, he saw the group of rulers around him. At the same time, he also saw the white-robed Dongbua Shuang. This caused his heart to tremble. However, his other avatar had entered another cosmos by chance. Hence, he was still able to maintain his calm. Old Ancestor Black Devil. Dongbua Shuang spoke. His voice was fleeting and fleeting. Old Ancestor Black Devil only felt the world before his eyes distorting. The other rulers could see that Old Ancestor Black Devil's eyes had already turned sluggish. They instantly understood that Old Ancestor Black Devil had fallen into a trap. Dongbua Shuang. Old Ancestor Black Devil seemed to have regained his senses. He pointed to the void beside him and roared in rage. You want to kill me? What a pity my luck is good. My other avatar isn't even in this cosmos. It's impossible for you to kill me. As for this body of mine, haha, if you want to kill me, I'll let you kill me. Ha ha boom. Accompanied by his laughter, Old Ancestor Black Devil suddenly exploded. Admirable. The Purgatory ruler spoke. You actually managed to make Black Devil commit suicide despite being in another cosmos. Black Devil's avatar committed suicide first before his true body committed suicide. The Primal Master spoke as he praised. Truly impressive. The Temporal Island Lord's expression turned even more unsightly. It's just some illusory realms. Dongbua Shuang said. His Tao of Mirage had reached the ruler realm. In terms of controlling illusory realms, he was the number one in the cultivator cosmos. He was merely an ordinary powerful existence, but in just a single exchange, Dongbua Shui Ying had caused him to fall into an illusory realm. His true body and avatar were connected by memories, and both of them fell into an illusory realm at the same time. Dongbua Shui Ying easily led Old Ancestor Black Devil's avatar and true body to commit suicide one after another. After the avatar committed suicide, the true body soul would be unique. The Primal Master had used a secret technique to discover this point. Let's go. The Temporal Island Lord coldly spoke. Let's go. Pangy nodded. Who? In an instant, he brought everyone out of the Lake Heart Island historical remnant, arriving in the starry sky outside. In the vast starry sky, Pang Yi began to teleport out a large number of cultivators from his Eden treasure. Paragons, powerful existences, world deities, and even some talented young fellows. The peak elites of the entire cultivator cosmos were all teleported out. Proceed according to the previous plan. Pang Yi spoke. Yes, the group of paragons and powerful existences acknowledged the order. They were in charge of moving the cultivators in batches, though their gazes could not help but land on the body of Dongbua Shuang. They could sense that one of the three ancestors of the Bloodshed God Palace, Monarch Dongbo, was currently together with the rulers. His unseen aura was not any weaker than that of the rulers, and this startled them. They did not dare believe that Dongbua Shuang, who had cultivated for such a short period of time, had become a ruler. But the scene before them forced them to let their imaginations run wild. Monarch Dongbo has indeed become a ruler. If not for Monarch Dongbo, the war with the Ancestor Mother religion would not have ended so quickly. Pangy said. Monarch Green, Primal Master, and the others nodded. At that moment, the entire place turned silent. Other than the many powerful existences present, almost all the world deities in the cultivator cosmos, as well as a large number of young fellows, had heard it clearly. The legendary Monarch Dongbo had actually reached the ruler realm. This shocked them greatly. This was a legend. The war had ended, and everyone began returning to their own places. The entire cultivator cosmos regained its peace. The powerful existences at the apex also knew that other than Monarch Dongbo, who had become a ruler, the publicly acknowledged strongest existence in the deity world and abyss, Bloodblade, had reached a higher realm, shocking many powerful existences. Senior disciple Brother Hui Ming and Chihua Laozu knew that forefather Black Devil had died, and the knot in their hearts had been resolved. Compared to Dongbua Shui Ying, their feelings for Sacred Master Crimson Dust were much deeper. Dongbua Shui Ying and Sacred Master Crimson Dust did not have much feelings for each other. On one hand, he had killed forefather Black Devil to repay a debt of gratitude, and on the other hand, forefather Black Devil had committed all sorts of crimes, inciting his killing intent. I have already become a ruler. Many of the things I wanted to do in the past should be done now. Dongbua Shuang thought, it's just that Sky Island Master will most likely resist fiercely. Chapter 789. Master. A deep voice could be heard. Temporal Island Lord, who was seated cross-legged on the silvery white grass mat, opened his eyes. He knew that this voice belonged to the treasure spirit of the Temporal Temple. "What's the matter?" Temporal Island Lord asked. "The few brats I controlled have been forcefully brought away by Monarch Dong Bo," the deep voice continued. "Furthermore, he has removed the imprint I left on the souls of those brats. Those few brats are none other than Qin Huang, my Shin Master, and a few others whom Monarch Dong Bo got acquainted with when he was a transcendent." "Humph," Temporal Island Lord snorted coldly. "So be it. There are trillions of reincarnators, and those few can't be missed." "Yes," the deep voice obediently acknowledged. "Go." Temporal Island Lord was too lazy to speak any further. This Dongbua Shuang is a person who values relationships. Temporal Island Lord's eyes were filled with coldness. It was just that a figure was faintly appearing in the deepest part of his heart. That figure was distant and indistinct. He once had the most important person in his life, just that everything was fake and a joke. Temporal Island Lord sneered with a low voice. "Previously, I've received intelligence that he had reversed time-space and revived a batch of brats from the River of Time. What Tong San, Chung Ling Shu, and the other weaklings. It is fine if they're just people from the Xia people's world, but who would have thought that he would even save those reincarnators who had crossed the Crimson Rock Mountain together with him? He is truly soft-hearted, yet he could become a ruler so quickly. Even though he felt unhappy, he could not do anything about it. Dongbua Shuang was the strongest amongst rulers in terms of combat power. Only Monarch Green and Purgatory Ruler could compare with him. If he were to use that Black Ord, unless Bloodblade acted, he would be unparalleled. Temporal Island Lord could only endure the suppression in terms of combat power. Furthermore, with the current state of the cosmos, Bloodblade had become a void god and was high above everyone else. Nobody was willing to offend Bloodblade, because in the future, when the cosmos reincarnation cycle ended, Bloodblade would have to bring them along with him. Bloodblade and Dongbua Shuang are master and disciple. Regardless of whether it was because of Dongbua Shuang's strength, potential, or for the sake of the future, the rulers would definitely try to befriend Dongbua Shuang. Even the eccentric Temporal Island Lord could only endure it. Since he had the strength, he should do what he needed to do. Dongbua Shuang had indeed revived a large number of people. However, to him, it was as easy as lifting a finger. To many of the people who had been revived, it was extremely important. When the Maishin Master and his true love saw each other, their faces were covered with tears. Qin Huang laughed like a madman, laughing so hard that tears came out his eyes. "Master!" In the starry sky, Dongbua Shuang arrived at the base of the ancestor mother religion. That spherical fort was currently surrounded by many complicated arrays. Bloodblade was standing in the starry sky watching from afar. At the same time, he was controlling the arrays and pondering over them. As for that wooden mustache war ship, it had long been destroyed. Those religious leaders within had been killed mercilessly by Bloodblade. "Snow Eagle, you are here." Bloodblade chuckled as he looked at his disciple. He then turned to the ancient spherical fort in front of him and sighed. "There are only 2 religious leaders within this base of the ancestor mother religion, and they have been killed by me using a secret technique. Currently, there is no life within this fort, yet I can't open it or refine it. Snow Eagle, do you have any ideas? Dongbua Shui Ying was inwardly startled. His teacher was indeed a void god. He could actually kill the two religious leaders within the base of the ancestor mother religion. In terms of arrays and treasures, I am far too lacking compared to teacher. Teacher, you should not ask me about these. Dongbua Shuang said. Bloodblade chuckled. That's right. Even though his disciple was talented, researching the myriad existences required him to spend a long time, energy, and comprehension ability. Only then would he have great accomplishments. It would not do if he did not have sufficient time. You aren't here just to see me, right? Bloodblade chuckled. Speak, what's the matter? With his current realm, he was absolutely unparalleled within the cosmos. What he wanted to do now was to walk further on his path of cultivation. Ancestor Devil and Lake Heart Island Swordmaster of the same race had walked ahead of him. There's a matter, Dongbua Shui Ying solemnly said. Teacher, the temporal temple is a huge tumor rooted in the deity world, abyss, and even the material realm. They can even forcefully abduct grade 3 true meaning transcendence and control their souls, forcing them to participate in life and death missions, forcing them to temper themselves between life and death, causing batches of them to die. Only grade 2 true meaning transcendents have the right to reject. But how hard is it for a grade 2 true meaning transcendent to emerge in a mortal world? One can say that the temporal temple can capture anyone they want in the mortal world. Trillions of living beings have been tortured to death. Even if a small minority became deities, they would still be controlled by them. The moment one is captured by them, it is too hard for them to regain their freedom. Dongbua Shui Ying looked at Bloodblade. The temporal temple should not exist. Even if it can exist, it cannot wantonly abduct countless living beings across the cosmos. Bloodblade nodded after hearing that. What you said is logical. I agree. You came looking for me because you want me to act? Yes. The temporal island lord controls space-time. If I were to speak, he would most likely not lower his head. But if teacher were to act, things would be different. Dongbua Shuang said. Bloodblade nodded lightly. Back then, Yuan Shu and the rest were against it, but we could not do anything to the temporal island lord. We could only negotiate with him to set down some rules to maintain the balance of the cosmos. But now it's time to change. Bloodblade nodded. Let's do it this way. From today onwards, the temporal temple can only take away the souls of those who have already died. We will reconstruct their fleshy bodies and allow them to start a new life. All right. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes brightened. Those who had died were already finished. If they could start a new life, it would be a good thing. Then it's decided. Bloodblade nodded. With his current status, a single word from the Temporal Island Lord would have to listen to him obediently. If he did not listen, he would directly destroy the Temporal Temple. Teacher, I have always wanted to ask, why did you build the Bloodshed Tavern back then? Dongbua Shuang asked. Bloodblade's brows twitched. He laughed. You brat, there are 2 reasons why I built the Bloodshed Tavern in the deity world, Abyss, and the material world. Firstly, assassins will never be eradicated. Since that's the case, I will set down some rules for the assassin industry. Secondly, and also the main reason, is because I built the Bloodshed Tavern. Countless assassins in the entire cosmos will go and kill, and I will be part of this karma. Every day and night, I will be subjected to endless karma. Slaughter, blood, hatred, all of this will temper my heart, allowing my comprehension of the Tao of destruction and Tao of bloodshed to deepen. Dongbua Shui Ying was startled. For cultivation, every day and night, countless karma would be placed on his body. Countless blood and wails would surround him. These days were simply torture. Go, Bloodblade said. Bloodblade opened his mouth, and Temporal Island Lord immediately became obedient. From now on, the Temporal Temple could only capture the souls of the dead. Many reincarnators who were captured previously had a chance to choose. They could choose their freedom. If they chose to continue being a reincarnator, they would be greatly rewarded. Time passed. Because of the birth of the Void God, there was an unparalleled existence protecting the entire cosmos. Hence, the cosmos became more peaceful. Everyone knew that they could leave the cosmos epic after it ended. Without that sense of urgency, the relationship between the rulers became much better. Year passed. Dongbua Shui Ying brought an avatar of his disciple, Little Chong 7 out, allowing Little Chong 7 to have a wider world to temper himself. As for his wife Jing Xiao, Dongbua Yu, Dongbua Qing Yao, his disciple Mo Chong Yun, disciple Jia Yun, and Xiao Qi Bai, Dongbua Shuang, they had all been sent to the Devil Mountain Cosmos once, though they did not stay for more than 1,000,000 years. The longest was Mo Chong Yun, who stayed for 980,000 years. Naturally, 1,000,000 years in the Cultivator Cosmos was 3 billion years in the Devil Mountain Cosmos. With the help of Dongbua Shui Ying's good friend, Third Highness Jiao Yun Lu, Jing Xiao and the others were given the best environment to cultivate. They could cultivate in other systems, and there were experts of other systems guiding them in the Devil Mountain Cosmos. In the end, his daughter Dongbua Qing Yao spent a total of 900 million years cultivating, and she was the first to transcend. The other was his eldest disciple, Mo Chongyun. He spent 3 billion years before becoming a powerful existence. As for the others, they were stuck at the stage 4 world deity realm. Jing Xiao had cultivated in another hex Dao path, yet she could not transcend temporarily. Black Fog Sea, Dongbua Monarch Residence. The white-robed Dongbua Shui Ying was staring at the starry sky by himself. A figure suddenly appeared beside him. It was Jing Xiao, Snow Eagle. Jing Xiao said in a low voice, "They won't be able to last much longer." Dongbua Shui Ying's body trembled. His father, mother, younger brother, Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong, and the others had all tried their best to cultivate to the deity realm. The lifespan of a deity was limited. Usually, it would be around 100 million years. A few days ago, his father and mother were about to reach the end of their lifespan. However, by relying on the Eden treasure to control the flow of time, they were waiting. They were waiting for Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong, and Dongbua Qing Shi. They wanted to travel together. Their mentality was very good, and they felt that they would be satisfied for the rest of their lives. Father, mother, Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong, Little Stone, Dongbua Shui Ying's heart was trembling. The most important people in his life were these few. But now, all of them were about to leave. They were about to leave for good. Dongbua Shui Ying felt an emptiness in his heart. On this day, Dongbua Shui Ying was filled with fear. But it still came. He once thought that he would be able to accept it calmly. But when the moment truly arrived, he discovered that his life was being sliced apart. His heart was being sliced apart. Pain. It was extremely painful. "Come, let's head over," Dongbua Shui Ying said. Chapter 790. The Dongbo Monarch Estate occupied a vast area. Dongbua Lai, Mo Yangyu, Dongbua Qing Shi, Zong Ling, and Tong San were all living here. After all, they had become gods for over 10,000 years and were unable to enter the world of the Xia people. The monarch estate had carved out a small area, and their residences were all very close to each other. Hu! Dongbua Shui Ying and Jing Xiao walked out of the void, arriving at their parents' residence. "Brother, sister-in-law, we've been waiting for you." Dongbua Qing Shi was waiting at the door. Upon seeing them, his eyes lit up as he called out, "Qing Shi." Dongbua Shui Ying laughed. Both he and his brother had lived for far too long, but the memories of their childhood were still very clear. That wimpy kid who would lie on his chest, drooling and snoring, and the scenes of him and his brother relying on each other for survival. They would never be able to forget. "Let's go." Dongbua Shui Ying walked over and hugged his brother. "Today, you have to accompany me for a drink." "Of course." Qing Shi smiled, his smile extremely radiant. The two brothers walked into the house with their arms around each other's shoulders. Jing Xiao followed behind them, smiling as she watched this scene. She was very clear what this day meant to her husband. There were no servants around. If the servants were to see their dignified ruler hugging someone's shoulders, they would probably be stunned. Within the house, the tall and sturdy lion-headed lion man Uncle Tong San, the six-armed serpent-tailed serpent man Zong Ling, the purple-robed serpent man Mo Yangyu, as well as the laughing Dongbo Lai, were chatting happily. They all sensed something and looked towards the door, only to see Dongbo, Shui Ying, and Qing Shi walking in together. "Huh, the snow eagle is here." Uncle Tong laughed, his voice extremely loud. "We're just waiting for you." Zhong Ling smiled as well. Come, come, come. Brothers, please take a seat." Dongbo Lai urged. Mo Yang Yu also walked over to move the chairs. Dongbo Shui Ying glanced around. The layout of the house was very similar to his ancestral home, Snow Rock Castle. The dining table was long, and a group of people sat around it. As Dongbo Shui Ying grew stronger, it had been a long time since he sat around a table to eat and drink. "Everyone sit," Dongbo Lai shouted. "Snow Eagle, Jing Xiu, the two of you sit here." Mother Mo Yang Yu also arranged and urged. Soon, the group of people sat down. Dongbo Shui Ying and Jing Xiu were leaning against each other. On his left were Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong, while opposite Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong were Dongbo Lai and Mo Yang Yu. Opposite Dongbo Shui Ying was his younger brother, Qing Shi. No one sat at the head of the table. In the past, it was usually his father, Dongbo Lai, who sat at the head of the table. But this time, his father, Dongbo Lai, was sitting together with his mother, leaning against each other. Today's food was cooked by me and Ayu. Let's raise our cups first. Dongbo Lai smiled as he raised his cup. It's been a long time since I ate father and mother's cooking. Dongbo Shui Ying also raised his cup. Everyone drank together. Zhong Ling finished his wine and put down his wine cup. Drinking here reminds me of Snow Rock Castle. At that time, Tong San and I accompanied Shui Ying and Qing Shi. At that time, Qing Shi was still immature and only knew how to fool around. At that time, Shui Ying practiced his spear arts every day, to the point where he had to soak in a medicinal bath every day. "What do you mean I only know how to cause trouble?" Qing Shi muttered. "Isn't that so?" Tong San, who was at the side, curled his lips. "Your brother was so tired every day. You even wanted your brother to accompany you to sleep at night. Luckily, Snow Eagle had a good temper. If you were my Lion Man tribe, he would have thrown you aside." Qing Shi also laughed. "I really don't dare to think about it. Back then, I thought that Snow Eagle would be amazing if he could become a transcendent. Who would have thought that he would surpass my imagination?" Zhong Ling said, "Back then, the sorcerer god and great demon god, who caused our Xia people's world to face a great calamity, also lost their lives. Now, Snow Eagle has become one of the peak existences in the deity world and abyss, and is ranked amongst the rulers." The others nodded. As they approached death, they could not help but recall their lives. In the past, they had thought that the dazzling existences were not worth mentioning at all. The great demon god had been dealt with long ago. Even the sorcerer god, who was the lord of the material world, had cultivated to become a stage 2 world deity. After Dongbo Shui Ying had become a ruler, he had easily killed him through karma. Cultivation can be said to be difficult. Dongbo Lai said, "Back then, I was brought to the Crimson Rock Mountain world by Snow Eagle. Only after receiving the best guidance did I become a transcendent. Afterwards, I was reborn many times, and a large number of treasures were used on me. Only then did I step into the deity realm with great difficulty. From then on, I no longer had any hope of becoming a world deity. Cultivation is truly difficult. If not for Snow Eagle, you wouldn't even be able to become a transcendent." Mo Yang, you said, "In the Crimson Rock Mountain world, there were many times when you had fallen into desperate straits and called for your son's help. Just thinking about it makes me feel ashamed. What's there to be ashamed about? I called for Snow Eagle's help when I was in desperate straits. Is that wrong?" Dongbo Lai glared at her. Come, 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 Snow Eagle, let us drink." Uncle Tong Sen picked up a flask of wine and drank with Shui Ying. He shook his big lion head, feeling quite pleased. "You've allowed me to come back to life, and even live for more than 100 million years. Haha, you've saved me, but I've created a Lion Man tribe." Dongbo Shui Ying laughed. "It's all because of you, Uncle Tong, that you're able to have so many children and grandchildren." The Lion Man tribe was too fertile. Because of Tong San, the Lion Man tribe became stronger. They formed a huge tribe and had even entered several planets in the deity world. Everyone was chatting, but Dongbua Shui Ying and Jing Xiu were listening attentively and would occasionally say a few words. After eating for a long time, Dongbua Shui Ying had also drunk a lot of wine. There were many large wine vats on the ground beside the dining hall. It's been a long time since I've drunk to my heart's content. Moreover, it's my good brother, my good sister, and Snow Eagle, Qing Shi, and Jing Xiu. Zhong Ling's face was completely red as he laughed. This life of mine, Zhong Ling, is worth it, truly worth it. Old brother, I can't take it anymore. I'll be the first to leave. Following the laughter, Zhong Ling's body began to dissipate. Every bit of his divine power was disintegrating and collapsing. Hua, just like that, he completely dissipated. Wait for me, Tong San shouted. It's time to go. Mo Yang, you also put down her wine cup. Are you? Dongbua Lai looked at his wife beside him. In this life, I'm very lucky to have you by my side. Me too. Mo Yang, you smiled, her eyes filled with love. Dongbua Qingshi sat there and also smiled. Father, mother, Uncle Tong, let's go together. The road will be lively. Brother, let's go. Don't be sad. We're really happy. Hua, hua, hua. Tong San's drunken body began to dissipate. Dongbua Lai and Mo Yang Yu held each other's hands and looked at each other. Dongbua Qingshi also smiled at Dongbua Shuang. They no longer suppressed the collapse of their souls, allowing it to begin to collapse. Every bit of divine power was collapsing, and all of them were dissipating into the void. Dongbua Shuang, who was holding a wine cup, watched silently. Little Shi too, father, mother, Uncle Zhou, Uncle Tong. You're all gone. You're all gone. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes flickered with tears. He sat there silently, not saying a word. The originally bustling house had now become very quiet. The long table was originally surrounded by a group of people, but now only Dongbua Shui Ying and his wife were left. The other seats were empty. Jing Qiu wanted to say something, but she didn't know what to say. She could only silently accompany them. Silence. Dongbua Shui Ying sat there silently for a long time. He didn't know what he was thinking. His mind seemed to be muddled and empty. Suddenly, waves of pain engulfed his entire body, engulfing his soul, causing Dongbua Shui Ying's heart to feel very uncomfortable. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his hand and held it tightly. Dongbua Shui Ying turned his head. His wife, Jing Qiu, was looking at him with concern. You still have us. Jing Qiu looked at him. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.